Welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast. Pop culture, film cast, cinema cast, motion picture cast.
The movies.
The movish. This is part 2.
I'm so excited that none of us brought up 80 for Brady, so we all have our top 4.
Number 1.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Spoilers.
I if you had asked me, I would have told you that movie came out in like 2020.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
fucked up.
That
Maybe
movie's
they
from
could
tw-
just release it every single year, and it would only get better.
Facts.
And those ladies would only be looking better.
How many movies did you watch in 2023? How big is the Letterboxd list?
My list is actually smaller than it was last year. Only 43.
Where's 80 for Brady?
We don't need to talk about that.
Welcome to the
It's
show.
80.
My name's Ernest.
I knocked at the cabin, and what I found was an Elemental Super Mario movie. My name is Hunter. Sorry, I was trying to find something.
No, that was all.
I couldn't even.
That was all great.
I'm
Yeah,
a
it was
Little
that good.
Mermaid.
And I talked to me.
So, Drew, you're number 3.
Barbie.
Let's get into it.
Go.
The biggest movie of the year.
Fuck
It's-
yes. I am so happy that this is this high. This
So
rules.
it's the movie that this year is going to be remembered by
Absolutely.
more than any other movie.
More than Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Big.
It is the funniest movie of the year. It's wildly funny, like absurdly funny. It had entire theaters nationwide cracking their shit up.
Wearing pink.
I want to hold on that point because that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
At all.
Unless it's
true
like, oh
comedy
my
breaking
God,
through.
Rocket Raccoon and Ant-Man
Yeah,
ate
when is the last
dinner?
time that I know that this is IP and everything, but a comedy made $1.5 billion.
Right.
I know.
The answer is never.
And it's
never
a brand.
done that.
It's a brand. It's an established property, like yada, yada, yada. But Gerwig and Baumbach, they did something special.
Yeah,
with
because
this.
because like calling it a brand established property. This is the first of this type of Barbie movie. There is absolutely a world where they hand Barbie over to some other random director. They're like, whoa, they're making an IRL Barbie starring like Anne Hathaway. It makes like $100 million,
Right.
And it goes away.
Right.
100 million is even bold. You know what I mean? Like this movie is one in a zillion. Like this doesn't fucking happen. It is fucking gut-bustingly hilarious. It's really, really funny. Like from like a pure comedy perspective, you can enjoy it just on that front.
It's smart.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It tap dances on top of the IP in a way that's really hard, especially in a world that has seen things tap dance on top of IPs in a post-Deadpool world.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It still manages to find a little
It
lane
takes down Barbie and also
and builds it back up.
Yeah, it shows you why so many people have connected to Barbie.
Yeah. It has two of the best performances of the year.
Gosling.
Gosling and Margot.
Two
has-
performances that are, I think, unreplaceable. I know that we talked about at the time, just like who was rumored
Margot
to be in there
is
before.
Barbie.
I think Margot Robbie and Emma Stone are the two greatest actors that we have alive right now, and both of them are in roles that are absolutely irreplaceable. You cannot cast anybody else in those roles, and I feel the same way about Ryan Gosling.
And I was by the way, leading up to it, I was skeptical about Gosling playing Ken because he's old. He looks like a guy who's like trying to look young.
Yeah, he's like 45. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's an old dude. You know what I mean?
Quick question. Which of these 3 roles are going, when you think, who is an actor that is defined by a role? What's the first one you think of? Like
Rami Malek.
with Freddie Mercury?
Mr. Robot.
Like maybe Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Rami
right?
Malek, Oppenheimer.
Man, why didn't we talk about that when I was talking shit about Oppenheimer? God damn it. I missed that one.
I think Cillian Murphy is going to be known as Oppenheimer for the rest of his career.
I agree.
Will Margot Robbie be known as Barbie for the rest of her career?
No.
Will Ryan Gosling be known as Ken for the rest of his career?
I think the thing is usually whenever somebody, because I don't think Harrison Ford is known as Indiana Jones.
Because of like Han Solo.
Yeah. I think that whenever you are a certain caliber of actor, you say, oh, that's Margot Robbie. oh, that's Ryan Gosling. You don't say I'm
Captain America. Yeah.
Exactly. If anything, you could say that's going to be Chris Evans. Chris Evans is going to be Captain America. Like that's something that is like, will he ever separate from that role?
That's a good point, Hunter. I think is like they're known as themselves already. Gosling to the masses is honestly the guy from the Nicholas Sparks
The Notebook
movie. The Notebook. Yeah. Like
I think that's changed now.
I think that's the old.
Well, no. So what I'm saying,
has Gen Z seen The Notebook?
No, of course. Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is like if it's someone who has two, like Harrison Ford,
Gen
like
Z is just
Solo
like that's the guy from Drive.
Indiana Jones. Like Gosling now has two.
Yeah. Hey man, Fall Guy coming soon.
Margot has yet to have two, but she's Margot Robbie, and we live in a world now.
No, Harley Quinn is huge.
Oh God,
she
Wall
is
Street.
You're so
massive as Harley Quinn.
Listen,
like,
she's
I think
Wolf of Wall
J.
She's Wolf of Wall Street to us, horn dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think Margot Robbie already, for film Twitter bros, she's also I, Tonya, because my God, is she just on another fucking level in I, Tonya?
But I mean, I think that this is the best case scenario of a movie that you could possibly get. Like
that's what I'm saying.
I know that people have nits to pick, and frankly, a lot of the nits feel unnecessary. A lot of the nits feel like, oh, we need to take down the biggest movie of the year with that's fine. You
and a lot of the nits are so grossly misogynistic in a way that like I don't even feel like engaging with those.
Yes, that and also the fact that this is a 4-quadrant movie. Like the feminist ideas in this movie have to be approachable for children because that's the point of the movie.
Well, so that's sort of what blows my mind about anyone complaining about that particular facet is like this is like a third wave feminist movie. This is like a 2000s in general feminist movie.
Well, it's very intro to it's very like 101.
Well, also, yeah, I mean, Greta Gerwig is like, you know what I mean? She's not like 20.
Right.
Like she's not growing up in a world of like, we need to kill, you know, like anyone who oppresses. Like that's not her ideology. She is much more of the like.
And you're working with Mattel too, Warner Brothers.
Well, yeah,
but also, I mean, they get away with a fucking lot in this movie for what. Like thinking about like how Disney has overmanaged their brand in the last few years, and the fact that Warner and Mattel were just like, we'll give you some freedom. Yeah. We'll let you play around. Yeah, there's nothing down there.
Well, and that's why
you can comment about it.
Well, so that's sort of why recently Puck, which we all
listen, Matt Bellany,
which I don't have to tell you guys. We all pay to subscribe to Puck. We all love it so much.
Hey, I've been a subscriber to Puck.
Really?
In the past.
They did publish an article about how like the CEO of Mattel could be the next Disney.
Yep. That's been a highly like linked thing
because
this is such a launching point.
That's the thing is to me it would be a very risky move because it's based on one brilliant move,
right?
Like
well,
what if he just had one good idea? You know,
it goes wider. This is one movie driven thing, but Mattel has licensed other things. If you're like going, because Disney as a whole, I don't want to get into it all right now because we're doing a top movies of the year. Mattel is like more than just because they're just now dipping their toes into movies, but as far as like brand IP, Mattel has done a really good job of managing brand and licensing out Mattel to other good brands to boost their, like Mattel has licensed shit out to Disney in the past.
I don't know how long this dude's been in charge.
Not long.
Yeah, that's the thing is
as far as an entertainment company goes, that is something that's more
I don't know, just having the willingness to put the movie in the hands of someone.
Right.
And actually let them mold it and craft it to their liking is
and have it be
scary.
Have it be both an artistic statement and also incredibly entertaining and funny. Yeah. Like that's one of the big triumphs of this movie.
That's what I'm saying is I think a lot of people are getting lost. Like a lot of people can't see the forest through the trees with Barbie. Like they are so.
It's not a lecture.
They're so lost in.
They're lost in the America Ferrera monologue.
Yeah, they're lost in the idea of Barbie and the fact that it has a message.
Stupid.
That they cannot even comprehend. The fact that like if they were just to like ignore that and just watch it,
they would be absurd comedy.
They would be wildly entertained, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like. you need to relax if you're one of those people, because there are a lot of them. There are people, even like well-respected people, who like are not able to sort of.
Well, it's also cool to hate on the biggest movie.
Well, of course, it's just they did. Like, this is as good as it could have been. Like, this is as good as you could have made this product. It's so unbelievably good, and it's for everyone. And I don't know. I didn't really foresee a world in which everyone was laughing at a movie that was actually funny.
Yeah,
I genuinely didn't think that would ever happen again.
I thought that we were. Yeah, I mean, we were in such a stale place for comedies that makes sense.
We were stuck in a Joss Whedon world
on it for real,
for
like
a decade.
I paired Barbie and Oppenheimer together on my list. Originally, I wanted to combine them together into just one entity.
You're not allowed to do that.
I told that I was not allowed to do that. No. I had Barbie ahead of Oppenheimer up until today, and then I felt pressured by the masses, by the Twitter holes, to move Oppie in front. I think Barbie is a more complete movie than Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer is like a higher degree of difficulty. It might have higher highs than Barbie.
Hunter's blaming other people for something he did.
No, I switched it on the way here, to be perfect. And while I was waiting for my ciabatta to get made at Wawa.
Who told you to build the bomb?
You know what?
Did you have the visions of the bomb yourself?
The fucking patrons did. No, I think that the thing about Barbie, because I've now seen this movie, I think 3 times.
I've seen the first third of it like 10 times. I keep throwing it on. Just like, dance. It's great. Dance the night away.
Well, let me tell you. I forgot to mention it because we had podcasted for like 6.5 hours at that point last week. But whenever we're doing our best albums of the year, honorable mention to the Barbie soundtrack, because it's a really good album. That Dua Lipa song fucking rules. I'm Just Ken is incredible.
That scene is fucking
so
incredible.
Good. It's one of those things that kind of keeps leveling up itself. And it's like, yes, I'm like
art.
Keeled over laughing. It doesn't matter how many times I see I'm like laughing, and I'm just like so engaged and into it.
Simu
I think. Yeah. Do you want to talk about him like just as like a person, like his actual beliefs and things?
He was researching a character.
He was in the other 2.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that show. Nothing going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah. No, I think the one thing against Barbie is that the Will Ferrell stuff all kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that does kind of hold back against the movie. The best part about Will Ferrell's character is that it allows a really good Charlie XCX song to exist because of it.
When they're chasing each other.
You're so fun, you're so funny. That song is a banger. Everything else with Will Ferrell, every time it cuts to Will Ferrell, especially on rewatches, I'm like, okay, let's allow this 45 seconds so that we can get back to the fun that I was having before.
I do think it's interesting that they put Mattel in the movie. Like that's an interesting choice.
Interesting idea. I just don't think. I don't want to blame Will Ferrell because I love our boy, especially producer Will Ferrell is on a fucking heater right now. So support our man in all things. But I just don't really care for what they were doing. And it kind of, I feel like that whole character perpetuates the part that people are critical about, like the America Ferrera scenes, which I actually think America Ferrera is excellent in this movie, and her daughter, whose name I don't have pulled up in front of me. But I really love their mom-daughter relationship that they have in this movie. But I think the whole like Mattel executives coming in at the end of the year and being like, "You're right. I think that everything you said is perfect. We should make dolls with cellulite," is like, that all kind of sucks. And I think that that's like a little bit of a blemish on what I think is an otherwise incredible movie. I think Ryan Gosling in this movie, you talked about like what somebody's going to be known as, everything. I know like Margot is Barbie. It's so indistinguishable. I think that like what Gosling is doing is one of the best comedic performances I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
like not exaggerating that. I think
he's my best supporting actor.
It is.
Me too.
He's my number 1 of the year. I think it's unreal what he's doing. No, Glenn is my number 1 and Gosling's my number 2. Because I knew Glenn wasn't going to win, so I had to support him.
Got to throw him.
I had to throw him up there.
But the batting average, I mean, everything he says, every micro expression, like
it's so good.
It's unbelievable. Everything he does is perfect. I will say, like, to your point about the Will Ferrell stuff being lesser, for all that, because that's in the movie, you get the stuff where, like, the scene where Margot introduces herself to the girls and they just talk about how Barbie is terrible and it's a horrible thing for young girls to latch themselves onto.
No, I like
that's the balance, right? You throw the Mattel executives a bone and you get to keep that scene where they tear down the whole idea of Barbie.
Also, so one other thing, man, I just, no shade to you, Drew, but man, I guess it's not Volvo, it's Volkswagen. They really want you to know they're just only driving Volkswagen.
My brother, it's literally a Chevrolet.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's, yeah.
Here's
so
the
what
thing.
the hell are you talking about?
I don't care, and all that I know is that I saw a fucking lot of it, and it felt like I was looking at, like, there might as well have been Brie Larson driving the car, just like driving away.
That's the problem is it's worse that it is a Chevrolet because it's a Chevy that is like decked out with features. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you're even
the product placement's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's like a
but that's the run.
It's almost
piece,
like
that's the run piece scene.
That's
so we need it. We gotta go.
I guess so, but like whenever we're talking about our top 10 movies of the year, like that's one of the things where it's just like it's like the wigs in Blackberry. It's enough to kind of make you notice it and then take you out.
The fact that it's a Chevy drum, like I was like, are you kidding?
You want to get in a chase sequence with a Chevy?
Well, no, just because
like the transmission goes out on you.
They are giving us like the most feature heavy Chevy. Like they're giving, you know what I mean? If it were like, if it were an Audi or something, you'd be like, yeah, that's a normal Audi. But it's like, no, this is like the $135,000 Chevy. Like, why are you showing me this? I'm not gonna buy it. You know, I'm sorry.
It's brief. Most of the real world stuff is pretty enjoyable. You get Ryan Gosling like learning about Sylvester Stallone and the patriarchy and horses.
Fun. That was awesome.
Dude,
like, it's
horses is so funny. It's so fucking fun. It's not, and it's funny in a way that like it doesn't really get less funny upon rewatch.
It's
if
amazing.
anything, like you laugh over lines that you previously missed, and then it's like, God damn, that fucking hits too. It's all funny.
It has layers and layers of comedy. That's the thing is any blemish it has, which I agree it does have, absolutely. I voiced all those exact same things when we initially talked about it. The lasting memory of the movie is that it is a triumph. It's a fucking triumph in making people laugh is a way to sort of Trojan horse in ideas.
right. And that's why it was a hit.
And if you think this movie is radical, I have a genuine argument that it's not even radical enough, like at all. You know what I mean?
It's just step
like,
one.
Yeah, this movie is millennial feminism.
Yeah.
Like
you
guys are
transcended if it was.
Yeah, if you saw this and you were like, whoa, hold on now. Like you are not ready for what's coming, guys.
Right.
Like it's gonna be a lot more than that. A lot more than like, women low-key have it bad. Like that's not radical at all. You know what I mean?
Part of the reason why the movie is so successful is because it pushes people to not just accept mindless entertainment. Like this was the year where superhero movies ended. And what was the movie that came out on top? Barbie. Not just because it's based on a doll, not just because it's a known brand, a known IP. It's because it had something to say. I hope I'm not naive in saying that. I hope that the reason why this movie was so successful is because it had ideas, because it trusted people to go to the theater to take time out of their lives to go out and see something that had a shred of meaning, right? And wasn't just fucking Iron Man punching things.
Exactly. There was no blueprint for this movie working the way it did. Like there in my mind, the best version of a Barbie movie domestically makes its money back and maybe doubles. Like
yeah,
there is no world in which this movie does so well unless it is a miracle. Like this movie is a miracle,
and it gives people something new.
It is. It's so fresh. It's so new. It gives you the cotton candy aesthetic And it gives you the look. It gives you plenty to
good.
It gives you plenty to enjoy on a base level. You can watch it fucked up. You could be drunk or high and watch it and then just enjoy it on a really simple level.
And then you can pay attention to all the details.
Yeah, and exactly. Like it gives you everything at once, and that's really hard. And I almost I was worried going in for Greta Gerwig. And now going out, I'm worried because I'm like,
how are you going to top it?
This movie defines the year. Oppenheimer can win Best Picture all at once.
Yeah.
Barbie is what we will remember this year for.
Yeah.
Like it truly is because it united everyone. Movies. Listen, if we learned anything from the transition of HBO to just Max, movies are masculine.
Mm-hmm.
They scare
little
women.
Right.
You know what I mean? This movie proved that you can make a movie that's targeted toward girls.
Right.
And make it and it can be for everyone if it's fucking good.
And that they were waiting for it. That's the thing, is like they came out in droves because they had been starved for 10 years because we've been making movies for 12-year-old boys.
And it's also another entry into, the event cinema thing because Barbenheimer was a thing. I still will maintain the fact that the Gentle Minions thing was awesome.
It primed.
Gentle Minions.
It set the stage.
Barbenheimer wouldn't have happened without Gentle Minions.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That ignited Gen Z to come to the movies.
Like that, I went to see that movie and I left like halfway through because I was like, wait, what am I doing here? This is awful. This is such a bad movie.
Your son's.
I think that was my number 3 of last year. If I have to look back at the tape.
A terrible movie, but I'll never forget going because it was awesome. Because when I went there, I saw
an event.
It was a bunch of high schoolers wearing suits and like prom dresses. When I went in, there was a high schooler with a suit on and sunglasses, and he opened the door for me and he like looked at his boys in there. He was like, "They're good, they're good," and he let us into the theater.
Dude, movies as memes rule. I don't care what like fucking film guys say. They're just like, oh, they weren't here watching the new fucking Kelly Reichardt film. They aren't allowed to enjoy cinema. No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Let movies be for everybody.
Is there going to be a Barbenheimer in 2024?
No.
No, I don't think so. Saw Patrol people tried to do it and it failed.
No, Barbenheimer truly is like that is not going to happen every year, and we need to appreciate that it happened this year because
it was great.
The fact that it happened, like 2 phenomenon movies is one thing. They're both awesome.
I think
that's crazy.
The thing
when
is
that going to happen again? That might never happen.
I just really hope. I mean, we've now talked about Oppenheimer and Barbie. The 2 single biggest movies of the year and the 2 movies that are going to define the year. I just really hope that studio executives are taking the right lessons from this, which is put auteur great filmmakers in positions. Give them the money that they need.
Let them make their art.
The money doesn't mean $250 million for them to blow on shitty VFX. The money means give them 60 mil. Give them 80. Give them 120. Give them whatever it is that they need to make great original ideas. Even they're both adapted, whatever. Like original concepts for movies.
Something people haven't seen 100 times.
Stop giving fucking whoever the fuck money to just shit out CGI garbage.
Hey man,
make movies with ideas. No shade to our boys.
James Mangold.
No, I was thinking of the creators of the film Cherry, the Russo brothers.
Oh, yeah.
I would never talk anything bad about the Russo brothers.
Barbie is Drew's number 3. It is my number 8, and it's Hunter's number 10.
I flipped it to my number 9. I don't think that counts for this podcast, but while we were talking, I changed my mind.
All right. Well, it's on the spreadsheet.
Oh, shit. So. Well, it's too late now.
Number 3, Hunter.
My number 3. Let's get into it. I am a fan of cinema. I am a fan of the GOAT, Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh.
So here's the thing about this movie. I think this movie is perfect. I think this is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. As I was watching it, as I left the theater, I was like, this movie is so perfect. And yes, it's 3.5 hours long, and that can be
It's
draining
difficult.
to a lot of people, especially it's a
Sad.
difficult movie. It's sad. I think that this movie, though, is, for me, it's a big step up over The Irishman. I think this movie is it's a lot more propulsive.
Hey, I'll agree with you there.
I think a lot of the work done is not just done by like the performances and the direction, but it's by the Robbie Robertson score, R.I.P., the leader of the band who passed earlier this year. Excellent score that I listen to like all the time while I'm working. The trio of performances is one of the best trios
Leo,
ever
Bobby
see.
D, Lily Gladstone.
And Lily Gladstone. I think we underrate Leo at this point. Like as a society, we just take Leo for granted. It's just like, oh, it's just
he
Leo
might not
just
get
doing a thing.
nominated for the Oscar.
And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't know what we're doing. This is a movie. It's co-written by Martin Scorsese and Eric Roth, adapted from the David Grann novel Killers of the Flower Moon, a book which I've read before the movie. And going into the movie, I had a certain expectation for what this was going to be based off of the book. But I will say, and I don't often have the chance to read a book before it's being adapted into a film. This is one of the best works of adaptation I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. I was going to say, you can just say like, I don't often like read books. Because I don't ever
Why
read
would you
books.
say that?
Because
why would you call
I'm
me?
impressed. I didn't know you read that book, and I'm like, Hunter read that
I didn't even
book?
audiobook it.
That's
Here's the
awesome.
thing. I generally I'll audiobook something if anything.
And how many years did it take you?
No, actually it only took me like 2 months maybe.
It took me 5 years to read Dune.
Okay, well that is like that's like what 16,000 pages, Dune, approximately, give or take. No, David Grann's novel it's a great piece of nonfiction. But the thing about the novel is that it is from the perspective, for the most part, of the Jesse Plemons character. It's from the perspective of the birth of the FBI.
What?
That is like the thing that takes us. It's like, it's all of these things that are happening surrounding the world, and like crimes, not just with the Osage, but then eventually kind of all circling around all of these murders that are happening.
It's a movie we've seen before.
Exactly.
It's a movie about a cop coming
into town, and there's something wrong, and they have to solve the murder.
We've seen that movie before, and I think that Marty and Leo.
So interesting.
That's what I thought that the movie was going to be, and the fact that there's a central mystery to the movie, or to the book, I should say, of like who is causing the murders in this town, and the fact that within the first 15 minutes of this movie, it's like, no, it's very clear Robert De Niro and like the white people are behind all of these murders.
It's not a mystery.
It's not it dispels with that whole conceit, conceit of the book.
It turns it inside out. And in doing so, it's Marty's first Western. And I think that in approaching the story in this way, he is able to give us a Western that completely inverts the entire genre, because now the other day there was some random Western on TV. Maybe it was like a John Wayne movie or something. And I was just watching and I couldn't help but think of Killers of the Flower Moon, because I was thinking like the true story, the real events is that all these guys were fucking murderers. Yeah. Like they pillaged and took land from native people and destroyed their lives.
And this story in particular, I didn't know that, and that's so cool that like it's
our boy Eli Roth, man.
I know,
absolute fucking
shouts
Eric
to
Roth, excuse me,
because it's Eli Roth.
Eli Roth, very different movie made by Eli Roth.
It's rare that the movie makes the book less formulaic. You know what I mean? Yep. But like, you're so right, because they correctly identified the real story that hasn't been told is introducing you to a world where the Native Americans are the ones with money, and the white people are the ones.
That's what's interesting. I mean?
Yeah, the white people are the underclass. Like that is the story. Like that's the movie. You know what I mean? And they did that. Like they were like, they read that book and they were like, hold on, this Osage thing is the fucking movie. What the hell? In the 1900s, not that long ago, like 100 years ago. It's crazy.
It's also so interesting to view this movie as just like this. I think if a Scorsese still has like 6 movies on the fucking docket for him to make, even though he's 80 years old, our absolute king out here. If this was his swan song, I think that this is kind of the perfect way to go, because I think this is also him coming to grips with himself as a filmmaker and what he has done. He now has to kind of look back at this career of, am I the bad person for perpetuating these terrible people and putting them in situations where you want to view them as heroes. You want to become Taxi Driver, and you sit there in the mirror and say, you talking to me?
Yeah.
Or you look at Wolf of Wall Street and you're like, I want to be just like him. And now this is a movie where Leo's at the front and center of this, and the entire time you're like, I hate this and I don't want to be a part of the same
bad man.
And what the genius of casting Leo in there is that he has these moments where he reels you in, and then he does like the most despicable shit that you can possibly do. He's fucking killing his wife in real time. And you just have to sit there and like stomach it
Right.
for 3.5 hours.
Right. That's part of the length, right? And I felt this with Irishman too, is that there is this drawn out inevitability to it. But I think in this movie, it just feels like you have to sit with the discomfort. You have to sit with this stench of death for so long without a break. Like, this movie wants you to feel how massive it is. It doesn't want to give you a break. And so much of that is encapsulated in the Lily Gladstone performance, where it's very internal. She never has like the big explosive monologue or anything like that. She's just carrying all this weight, this increasingly heavier weight of her entire people, all her family just dropping dead. And she can't do anything about it. All she's doing is barely even able to survive herself.
I needed more of her.
Sure. Yeah.
I needed
for as long as the movie is.
The movie almost takes her away from you, like purposefully in the third act.
I would take a little less Leo over the course of the movie to get more of her, because Leo is, I mean, like you said, like we do take him for granted. Like he's giving. It's almost it's kind of like what you said about, Bradley Cooper, where like it's okay to like want something really bad.
Right.
Leo,
he just wants acting so bad.
That's what I'm saying is like I generally, and I think that this is like relatively correct, is like I think we like the culture has had enough of try-hard white boys. you know what I mean?
They're like, we've already seen Marlon Brando. We don't need to see Marlon Brando again. Which, by the way, we got to talk about Leo's jaw. I'm worried about how wide it's getting.
Oh, well, so he's doing underbite in this movie. That underscores a larger issue going on, which is like he has just like his alcoholism head is approaching like Stewie Griffin levels.
It's insane what's happening.
Like his head is almost like football shape.
He's supposed to be playing like a 20-year-old.
No,
like
that is so funny. Yeah, he's playing a 25-year-old in this movie. And you're like, get the fuck out of here.
And so that's why it was almost weird to me that
they age everybody up though, because even De Niro, I think, is supposed to be playing like a 40-year-old or 50-year-old.
He's
something
incredible in this movie.
Man,
so
that's completely lost. Of the 3 performances, like his name isn't even being mentioned.
Yeah, one of my biggest takeaways from the movie was like, this is my favorite De Niro since
Meet the Fockers.
I don't really know the last time I saw him this good.
Is it the 21st century? His best performance of the 21st century?
Shark Tale.
He's so good.
I mean, honestly,
he really is. And it's another one where like the role is pretty ironclad. Like it's this white guy sort of almost like colonialist type. Like, you know what I mean?
And it's so matter of fact. Like he doesn't try to hide it really. I mean, he does, but he's not.
He has like just enough warmth to cover his tracks, basically.
Right. Yes.
Like
when he's talking to the natives, he's doing it with such love for
Yeah,
He's
and
got like a not like a swagger, but like a charisma to him, where you're just like, yes, I will listen to whatever
because-
this man is saying.
But it's not so much that because I really feel like a lot of old guy actors would go way over the top with the sweetness of the role. They would be like, oh, this guy, this character, he really needs to overcompensate for how awful he is. And so he's so nice to everyone. That's actually not the case.
He goes by King. Like he just knows that he has a power to it.
Because
King Hale.
Yeah, and that's how it would be in real life, because in real life, this character knows that his money talks. Like he doesn't need to be way over the top sweet to everyone. He can just be like cordial, and like his money will do the rest.
Right.
Like it works so well. It's the best Bobby D I've seen in so long. Like he was my favorite performance.
It's menacing.
Yes.
You're genuinely terrified of this guy.
Yeah, it's just absolutely lovely. I love I love it's not even really an arc. It's just sort of an increasing amount of knowledge that we have about him like throughout the movie, where like we know that he sucks right up front. Like
first scene.
Literally in the first scene, they're like, these Osage got a lot of money. You got to find one. He's like, do you like girls? He's like, I like it. I
do love money.
I do love money. I love any kind of girls. I love purple.
The color purple.
That's sort of hold on.
Jesus, can't stop.
I love it.
Save it for his number one.
It's interesting because it really does immediately sort of remove any amount of mystery that we could have here.
Which I think is the point. I mean, I think what Marty's trying to do here is he's not trying to be mysterious.
Yeah, there's no mystery on who is the bad guy.
He's trying to very matter-of-factly show you, like, this is the history of America. And you brought up, like, him reckoning with his career. I think it's more so him reckoning with his American identity. Like the idea that if you are to be an American, this is what it is. This is what America was built on. It was built on genocide and colonialism and destruction and death and murder. That's what it is. And if you don't want the last few minutes of the movie spoiled for you, skip ahead. But the cameo of Marty himself.
Oh, the very end of the movie.
Coming in to give
my favorite ending to a movie this year.
Like that tells you everything you need to know about this movie, where this whole ending sequence of the events of the movie being dramatized as a radio play sponsored by the FBI.
Awesome.
And him.
It was so cool.
And him coming in to give the final word on the obituary of Lily Gladstone's character is incredible, because he's telling you right away, like, look, I am complicit. I made a film. I made a piece of media. I made a piece of entertainment to show you this story.
And I'm a white guy telling this story.
This is the whole point.
Story. I'm stepping in again.
That we continue to forget the reality of these events, and we co-opt them
and
into our culture, and twist them.
It works so well, and I mean, directorially, he does the fuck out of the movie, because
it looks incredible.
The entire way it begins rocks.
Yeah,
like it.
The image of the oil like spewing out of the ground and dripping over the natives
dancing. Oh,
and
my God.
And it dumps so much exposition, like IRL exposition. I guess you could call it history if you wanted to, on you. But
it feels so. You don't feel like you're being like overwhelmed by it.
Because
it's
Marty
very
is
digestible.
Because he's good.
Well, also it's Marty, and again, it's that Robbie Robertson score. It adds such a propulsiveness to scene, while characters are talking. There's just this dum dum.
Oh, dude. That was like that was one of the only things I wrote down about the movie, is like if you want to make it easier on your audience that your movie's like wait so long,
Give them a little
every scene just like don't
pulse.
don't.
Yeah.
It's just it just makes it, man. Our fucking king, man.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
It's just the whole movie is just like it, and it really does make every scene more like, whoa, something's going on here.
I'm curious.
I'm listening. I'm engaged right now.
Did you watch it all in one sitting?
Yeah.
Nice. Did you feel like you had to like take a break at any point?
I no, I didn't. I think one really smart move it makes for the film lovers out there is it almost the way it allays the fact that it's been going on for way too long, like in the really like the final, maybe half hour, 45 minutes of the movie.
Brendan Fraser yells at you.
Yeah.
Objection! And you're just like, wait, is that the whale yelling at me right now?
That's what I was gonna say. Is it shows you like so many fun people at the end. It's like, oh, Fraser.
John Lithgow's here now.
Oh yeah, Lithgow's here. Plemons comes in earlier. Yeah. Oh, Jack White.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Okay. Like genuinely that it's like, oh, a piece of cake. Like it's giving you like a little dopamine hit if you're like a film freak. If not, you're definitely going to be feeling this fucking length.
I think that the only part of the movie where you can feel the length a little bit, and it makes this is exactly ripped from the source text, is the last act where we first get like Leo's gonna object, and then like he gets cornered by Brendan Fraser and by everybody else.
Yeah.
And they tell him, and then he's just like, actually, no, I'm not going to object against King Hale, and then changes his mind, and then like 10 minutes pass, and then he finds out that like his son, or is it his son or his daughter, one of his kids died.
Oh.
And then he decides again, like, oh no, I changed my mind back. That is all things that happen in real life, but that's the only part, and maybe that's just me because I have read the book where I was just like, I know where this is going. We can
Wait, so that's
that's
another question I had is you said in real life just then.
Yeah. No, this is all totally true things that have happened of all of the events. So in the book, some of the things that are more questioned, which is Marty fucking gets it. This is the thing where it's just like Marty, it's like he read the book and was like, the most interesting idea is did he or not poison his wife?
Yeah.
Which is, while I was reading the book, that's only like a little snippet, but that was the thing that stood out to me because it's left ambiguous in the book.
Well, he does, but
does he or
know
does he not?
Is?
Exactly. And that's kind of
He's
one of the
such an
things.
idiot.
And the fact that
Earnest,
is
such
the
a
central
dumbass.
crux, that he was just like, this is going to be the thing that's going to be the moment where they're going to come together and she can look past everything else because that's your uncle and everything else. Did you know that you were poisoning me?
Yeah.
And that is where we come down on, and the third act is like, you guys fucking get it. You fucking got it. You did it.
Storytelling wise, that kind of frustrated me, like the way that it was dealt with. Because you're right that like that is such a incredible thing to make into a focal point and like a fulcrum of the movie, but like he's just poisoning her. Like you're watching him do it over and over.
Does, but it's like it's also like doctors are giving him this and
he's
saying
too
like,
stupid.
oh no,
He's an idiot.
He's a fucking simpleton.
I know, but like he knows.
But does he? That's the
Yes,
thing about
he
his
does.
character.
Going back, this goes back to our conversation about zone of interest, and I even like some of the other movies that we talked about here, but like complacency.
I know.
Of just like sitting here and just being like, well, this is benefiting me, so like I might as well
so
just
that's
not
the
look
thing
past
is
anything.
I guess the reason that it bothered me is because that was when I needed more of her. Like in those moments, because she knows a lot. Like she knows more than they think.
She trusts her husband.
She knows what's going on.
She loves him.
She trusts him. And at every time that it slips into her head and she gets a little moment of VO, Lily Gladstone, and she gets to say like, I don't know who to trust here, blah, blah, blah. Like I need more of that in the movie because I get not including that because, you can only feel so qualified to get in the mind of certain people if you're.
Especially because that wasn't really documented at all.
Of course.
So you're already interjecting yourself as like a white man into the story.
No, that's what I'm saying is like there's only so much that you can feel comfortable like editorializing.
Mm-hmm.
But like if we were just writing a movie from scratch, we would need way more of that because like he's so opaque in a way where like it's like we're just watching him poison her. I really never had a doubt in my head that he knew. Like he just knew, but he is very willing to overlook it, even though he knows he's killing her. What's more interesting to me is her knowing that she's being killed by a man, but letting it happen. That is like one of the wildest interpersonal dynamics I could imagine being portrayed in a movie. And so to have it sitting there and not flesh it out more did bother me.
See,
I wanted more.
I definitely, I feel that. I understand that. I think that it's, again, I go back to like reading the book and everything, because it's like Molly Kyle is the introduction to this world. But from the source text, Molly is just kind of that. Molly and Ernest are there as like a little bit of the fulcrum, but so much is happening on the peripheral.
Yeah, that's the thing. They had already grown this part of it so much that I get them not growing that part more.
But also, I almost think that it is a choice to say at a certain point, we are not going to go fully into her POV. We are going to stay with the bad guys. And we're going to kind of make you feel this. We are not going to fully change perspectives here.
Here's what I'll say. I think this movie should not be the only movie made about this story. And I think more iterations of the story should be told. I think that this version that Marty made is the version about the white people for the white people. Like that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make a story. He is a white man. He's putting the white people in the center of the story. He's trying to tell a story for white people about complacency and about evil and about white America's role in eradicating natives. That's what he's trying to do. The other story of the more native-centric perspective should be told. I don't think it should be told by Martin Scorsese. I think a lot of people have been clamoring for that to be part of the narrative around this movie. I think it was part of the conversation with Oppenheimer with the Hiroshima bomb and the Japanese perspective, that's not the story that Christopher Nolan should tell. Yes, that should have been more fleshed out. I don't know if the place for that is a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yes, I agree in both of those instances.
No, so that
Nolan shouldn't be telling a Hiroshima story, and that I think Scorsese told as respectful a story of the Osage people as he possibly could. There's still the moments where we do see Molly's perspective. We do see, especially I'm thinking of the owl, seeing the owl visitor and everything.
Marty again giving us things I've never seen before. Like what an incredible visual.
It was great shit. To put a cap on that conversation, I think the difference between that and like Oppenheimer is that from a storytelling perspective, this movie is better if it has more her. Oppenheimer is not better.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it has that perspective, that doesn't make sense for the story of Oppenheimer.
He should have brought in a native
this story,
co-writer.
It's just the problem is they give us a little bit. So it's like either give me none of like her VO and perspective. You know what I mean? Like you can't give me a little bit, because then every time we get into her brain, I'm like, here it is. Here's the Molly chapter of the movie. And you don't get the Molly chapter. Well, even though you know her internal struggle is way more interesting than fucking Leo being a dipshit.
Yes. No, I think you're 100% right.
So that frustrated me.
I think that both of you guys are right for like what you are saying, and what you're wanting is that aspect of the movie. Where I viewed this is that even whenever we dip into Molly's VO, we are still viewing it as like through the mind of Ernest. Like this, at the end of the day, it's coming back to Leo. And like any moment that you're seeing of her VO and her POV is the moments when they are closest. And as they drift further and further apart relationship wise, because he's fucking poisoning her and like she is dying like by his hand, we get a little bit of less of her POV and it gets back to him, because at the end of the day, this is about a truly like evil person. Like I think it kind of goes beyond complacency and dips into just you being evil, because I think
he's doing.
I think the thing
with
is
his own
that
hands.
Molly, that's what the third act is about, basically, is like, I can look past
final
complacency.
scene.
I can look past ignorance. I can't look past implicit.
Yeah.
If you were actually being implicit and actually helping kill me, your wife and the mother of your children.
Claim stupidity to a point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot be this ignorant to everything. And the fact that just like I was willing to accept ignorance, but not this, that is where it's just like, I think that the third act of the movie does not work as well as it is written. The third act of the movie does not work as well if we do see more of her side. I think that it's perfectly written for this specific story that they're trying
Imagine
to tell.
how difficult it must have been for Lily Gladstone to look at this script and know that her character could have been more. Well, and to still take the role and know that that she has to fit into this to give it the best possible version of this character, while knowing that in some way she's letting down her people. Because a lot of natives, I don't know about a lot, but enough natives have spoken out about why they don't agree with this movie. Like prominent, Devery Jacobs, who worked on Reservation Dogs, had a whole tweet thread about why she did not like this movie and how it just does a complete disservice to the native perspective. But you have Lily Gladstone having this incredible moment. She's probably going to win the Oscar. Like, she's sitting in this chair knowing that, yes, it's not what it could have been, but it's a Martin Scorsese movie. If someone's going to do it, you have to do it as best as you can.
I also think,
and flesh it out as much as you can.
I also think that, like, whether we want to admit it or not, this is probably the best way to tell this story. Like the best way that Hollywood will tell this story. Let me say it that way.
Right now, I
think that in the future, I think that there is maybe a more, like there are definitely more in touch minds.
The full
and
native,
are,
the story that is the full native perspective.
I think you're 100% right. That I would love to see that story. Like I want to see the res perspective on this story. I think that the problem is that as much as Hollywood has changed, they aren't giving fucking Apple isn't giving $300 million to
whoever
a native director to tell that version of this.
I know. I think the middle ground would have genuinely been like bringing in someone with some native perspective to just throw in a couple of fucking scenes, because I spent this whole movie, every scene she's in, I'm like, the focus is really off here, because the most interesting dynamic in the scene is what is that girl thinking right now? And we are not giving a fuck about it.
I think that a lot of it also, I mentioned it before, but it goes back to the source text. Because the whole thing is that Molly is like, she's very stonewalled and she never really revealed anything.
For sure.
You could just bring in, you're changing a lot from the source text anyway, so you could just bring in
I know.
Before we put a cap on everything, oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, you're right. Is like they're already expanding on the best part of the story. Like they already took liberties in such a good direction that generally my complaint, this is still like in my top 10 easily, because it's like a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, Marty knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, it's just if I am to have an issue with the movie, it's just I really like I wanted to know what was in her head, and they didn't even be super explicit about it, but it was just like it almost bothered me once we finally got to the scene where she asked him about the poisoning, because like we had a full hour of him just poisoning her. And like the whole time I was like, she has to have a thought about it, but like, we're not getting any amount of anything from her, but it's like, I know she's wondering. I know it, you know,
I think
it's so all of the death just becomes such a thing that is just so like,
I mean,
it's so movie, just there.
This movie is so fucking good.
It's like I think the one thing that this movie does do a good job of is like reflecting, and the thing is that like all the death and everything you see doesn't even come close to everything that is written in the books, because it's almost unbelievable, like the hundreds of deaths that just happen. They're just like, this person just got shot outside of a bar. I guess they were drinking. Oh, this person just like got in a drunk driving accident and died in a car. Like it's just all these kind of things of these mysterious deaths that were happening, and then these people with the birthrights that they were like taking off it's disgusting. It's so awful.
I will say, despite all that, Robert De Niro does slap Leo in the ass with a paddle.
He does slap. He also wears really big goggles.
Yeah. So
I love his goggles.
His goggles are incredible. We talked about the trio. The entire cast is incredible. This might be like one of my favorite ensembles of the year between Leo, Bobby, Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons,
the guy from The Last of Us.
Yeah,
scary guy.
Yeah,
He's great. Byron, the brother.
All of the native actors who are in
Yeah, the
here,
guy who plays Henry in particular, I loved him. The one that like Bobby D is trying to keep alive because of the insurance policy.
Yes, yeah.
I thought that was a great actor.
Yeah, Everett Waller, Tally Redcorn, and Yancey Redcorn are all just like fucking unbelievable in this movie.
Yeah, they all cooked. I mean, De Niro made the fuck out of a movie. When the house explosion sequence is like,
dude, when the house is on fire and you see them all like spraying the fire out in the yard outside.
Yeah, and when the
shots, man.
when the whole thing's exploded and they pick up the woman and you see the back of her head like fall out, and it's one of those like, it's not like a jump scare. It's not like overly grotesque. It is just like what you would see, but like, oh my god, it fucks you up.
One of my favorite moments is when the mom dies and she sees like the afterlife, like she's welcomed into the afterlife by her
so beautiful,
her ancestors. That I've never seen anything like that depicted.
I guess
in that way.
I guess generally you're probably right that maybe we just didn't have quite enough primary sources of what the native perspective was here, because like they all knew in the beginning of the movie. That's what was killing me, is like they all knew that this was a bad idea to let all these white guys in. Like the mom was like, you guys got to stop with this shit.
Yeah.
Like Lily Gladstone had a great head on her shoulders. She was playing a very smart, self-aware character.
It's just the flashiness of the white man coming in, of just like, they've got cars and they can build roads. And
hey, listen,
they got that
Leo,
fucking Riz out here.
Leo's got that.
They got
big
pool
jaw.
tables. They got alcoholism.
I think
They've
they
got it
almost-
all.
The pool hall is also a barbershop.
Yeah, pool. Honestly, dog, if there was
Is that just how it was back then?
I think as I saw that scene in the movie, I was like, I think I found my next business venture. What if I opened up a pool hall barbershop?
We need to.
I don't know a single pool
this
hall
might be an
barbershop.
Oklahoma thing.
Oh, you know what? Okay. So we could bring that to Orlando.
Maybe
We could open the first Orlando pool hall barbershop.
I honestly think that just like you and me, Hunter, we should have just our prime era would have been Osage.
Just shack up with.
Oh, that's so good there.
I do love money.
I do love money.
All right,
Man, god damn it, Leo is so good at playing a simpleton.
My final thought about it and Leo is I think that I think they put those teeth on him because they felt the need to make him uglier, when I feel like he's naturally not attractive anymore and they could have just given him his normal teeth. And you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
they had to make it look like he's just like
his hair
center part.
They gave him the stupid guy hair.
Like dumb guy.
They didn't have to do all that.
Not a great look for guys named Ernest, man. I'm climbing.
Is that your real tough break here?
God damn it! All right, Killers of the Flower Moon is Hunter's 3, my 5, and Drew's 6. All right, boys. Number 3. My number 3. I can already tell what your top 2 are. So I know.
Can you?
I know that.
Can you now?
My number 3 is a movie that I can see the what's coming and know, like, all right, I need to reserve a slot. This one snuck up on me. And there were a lot of movies that I saw cramming that did not make the top 10. And this one was not one of the ones that I was like, I need to make space for this. It just found its way into the top 3. It's The Boy and the Heron.
Yo! Oh my God. That fucking rules. I have not seen this fucking movie yet, and I'm so disgusted with myself.
Hayao Miyazaki's masterpiece.
That was the funniest little arc Hunter just went through.
No.
Whoa! Haven't seen it.
No, I am so happy to see it this highly
couldn't find the
represented.
time, but Damn,
Hayao Miyazaki, kind of a mids filmmaker, but like, you know, I'm happy he had this one.
This movie absolutely blew me away. It could easily be 2 or 3 or 2 or 1, I should say. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. I think it captures the best of what Miyazaki can do with his most renowned masterpieces like Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro. Like just that same sense of wonder and fantasy. The dude thought he was going to retire with The Wind Rises 10 years ago. That was a movie that was very grounded. It didn't have any fantastical elements. And suddenly he's back a decade later with another just incredible, beautiful movie about a boy who has to journey into another world to find his mother. And there's a heron. Mm-hmm. So it's The Boy and the Heron.
So have you seen The Wind Rises?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Love that movie.
Yeah, I think that movie is like a perfect movie. Is this... Because I think one of the beauties of The Wind Rises is that you see it and you're like, this is a swan song. Like, just go out on this. This is a perfect end cap to a career. Do you feel the same way after seeing Boy and the Heron?
Yeah, I mean,
it
feels like
of a last.
It combines like everything that you've grown to love over his whole career. Like you see little bits of everything, every little bit, the love for nature and the environment, the love for like creatures and little round guys.
He does love little guys
and heroes on a journey and fantastical things. Like there's a lot here that feels disjointed in the moment. You know, you're sitting there watching this movie and you're thinking like, what is happening? Where am I? Who is this? What does this have to do with anything? And Miyazaki, he's a fucking genius.
You just trust in him.
When you get to the end of this movie, it all comes together and it all makes sense. This is not a linear story. Well, it is. It is linear, but the feeling of it is very non-linear. Like Western audiences, we are conditioned to expect a very, set formula of setups and payoffs where every scene has to have a series of bits of information that feed into a larger story, and every scene has to tie into the previous scene. This movie doesn't do that. This movie is very fluid and circular and non-linear, and every scene doesn't necessarily tie into the previous scene, and you don't really know where you're at in the story, or you just know that you're with this boy. I believe his name is Mojito, something like that. And you're following him along on his journey. And once you get to the end, it all just beautifully comes together. This beautiful message of what we try to leave behind in the world. What is our legacy? What do we hope to accomplish with our hopes and our dreams? What's the point of everything? This movie was originally called How Do You Live? Mm-hmm. And it very much captures that idea. I love it so much, guys. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's so beautiful.
I gotta see this movie while it's in the theater. Like I love Miyazaki. I've seen every Miyazaki movie at this point. Listen, he's one of our guys. Did you see it dub or sub?
I saw the dub.
Okay. The dub I've heard is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Our boy Bobby Patty.
Yeah. It's a stack cast. Robert Pattinson as the Heron is kind of an insane performance. I want to see it subbed just because I'm curious if there's any noticeable difference in the way the story comes across. I will say,
because normally I'm like I did not feel a disconnect. I'm a sub-truther in a lot of ways, but like the Studio Ghibli's are the one thing that you can kind of trust the dub in because they always do like an incredible job of like, we're going to get A-list actors to come in here and give like a very true performance and not just be phoning it in on the lines.
It's Miyazaki, so you know that people wanted to get in on that, even if it's a tiny little bit role. But yeah, I mean, it just follows that tried and true formula of our young hero entering another world. Like, this is a story of a boy who has to leave the city after the war with his father, and he's lost his mother, and there's a chance that he might be able to find her in this other world. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's we've seen it. We've seen Miyazaki do this. You know, you have someone coming from the real world and journeying into this fantastical world.
Literally Spirited Away. Like,
and it's done so well, and the visuals are unbelievable. It's the most beautiful hand-drawn animation you've ever seen.
You know, that is one thing that even while I was watching The Wind Rises, which I do think is just absolutely stunning, like just a gorgeous piece of cinema, as Drew is showing off the WBAM
the rocks
to the camera. As much as I love The Wind Rises and how gorgeous of a film that is, I'm glad that if this is Miyazaki's last movie, we are getting him going back to the fantastical.
Yeah.
Because
and boy, he does.
The fantastical and just, you know, like the elements of high fantasy, otherworldliness, environmental themes, like those are the hallmarks of what makes Hayao Miyazaki. And I'm glad that we're gonna get this. He apparently is working on another movie. Will that be released before he dies? He is currently let me check here, 83 years old.
King.
Absolute king, man. What a fucking legend that guy is. Remember whenever he said he was going to retire after Princess Mononoke in the year 2000?
The Boy and the Heron is my number 3. All right, top 2. Here we go, Drew.
Woo. Okay.
Number 2.
I think I know what everybody's top 2 are.
Yeah.
Beau's afraid.
Oh my God.
It's Beau time, baby.
Ernest just took off his shirt to reveal another shirt. That's
crazy.
It's
my Beau night shirt.
Wait till you guys see my 80 for Brady shirt that's underneath here.
What a film. Ari Aster.
I had to be real. I had such a good time watching this fucking movie. It's so awesome. It is so good. It's such an interesting collaboration between director and actor. Director/writer and actor, in such a way that you really truly feel, even though Joaquin is he's known as such a stinker who like makes his own choices, and he did with this movie. In fact, like, you know, he did his own thing to the effect of like truly bothering everyone who was working there, but he feels like an extension of Ari.
Yeah.
You know, like he really feels like he is,
or at least like a fucked up version of his mind.
Yeah, he is doing such a platonically perfect job of representing what he's supposed to in this movie that it was so great to listen to that A24 pod with the two of them and hear that like behind the scenes there was tension because like,
I think it's beyond tension. I think it was like a arduous, like difficult.
Yeah,
production.
Well, because Joaquin is just always like fucking difficult. Like he's a pain in the ass to work
and
with.
Ari probably like, I mean, up to that point, this was the biggest budget of any A24 film.
Yeah.
So Ari Aster probably had like way more toys to play with than anyone in his position.
And the first, you know, it's not like he had made like a DDL movie. This is the first like difficult actor he had worked with.
Right.
They worked together so great.
It's multiple worlds. You journey to like 5 different worlds.
This is maybe, I don't want to say it, but this might be the most realm heavy movie I've ever loved.
It's gonna be nominated.
I was gonna say
some WBAMs.
Well, there's another realm that's coming up here that Ernest hasn't brought up on his list yet. That is by definition the most realm heavy. But
yeah, I mean, of course.
As far as like live action realms go, everything that is happening here in this movie, the depths of what you were seeing scene to scene.
It really is. It's like almost like a Dante's Inferno type thing. It reflects, again, this is not coming from anywhere but like my own experiences, but it reflects the levels of sleep cycles where like by the end of it you're in like deep REM sleep.
Yeah, you're going so deep.
Yeah, where like, you know, you're starting in like sort of a fast pace. It's fucked up and crazy and like heart pounding, but like lighthearted.
Does this movie have the same resolution as your like sleep paralysis that you're going through, where at the end of the day you just need a nut?
No, I fuck my mom in those
With
with
Mariah Carey.
You just got a nut to Mariah Carey.
The best ending of this movie truly would have been him smashing his mom.
Fucking Christ.
But it really, I mean, it really is like, I went on and on about it when we initially talked about it, but this movie is all about dream logic and just like the subconscious mind. Like that's what it's trying to reflect here. It's reflected in the pace of each realm that we get into. We go one realm crazy fast, like insane, stupid, funny. Which is, by the way, the quote unquote like real life of this world that we're in.
That's the world that he lives in on a daily basis. That is his norm.
The grounded world in this movie is like a caricature of like a Todd Phillips Joker New York. Yeah. That's like the grounded world. And then we go to the Nathan Lane world, as I call it.
Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan in this movie.
They're both cooking so hard. It's absolutely phenomenal. Shouts to Ari for cooking up some lines for Nathan Lane that I don't think would ever get the chance to deliver. He says, "My brother," and he says, "My dude." Nathan Lane saying "my dude" is king. I think like my moment of the year.
God, what a legend. What a fucking king.
My dude. Dude. He's so funny. It's such a good use of him because it has that sinister take on it. So so Nathan gets to flex a little bit of the depth that he's very capable of. It just couldn't be better. And then from there you get crazy. You get into like at a certain point we're watching like an animated play for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, for like almost an entire act of the movie.
The fact that they didn't make him cut that out of the movie is incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I had to put this on my list.
This movie, if you are...
Is this a blank check movie as we've seen? It's this and Babylon are like the only movies where people, like producers are like, just do just how much
we're gonna lose how many $1 million?
I guess. Okay, but you'll come back for the next one, right? Which will make money for us.
It's one of those where if you are fully along for the ride from the jump, this is a perfect movie. If not, it's not perfect. Like, and that's not to say that that's your fault.
It's definitely too long
because it's way too long.
And
that's okay.
The shag is very, very evident.
There's tons of shit that needs to get cut out of it. Let's just say that like right before going into the theater, you take a big rip of a pen or something like that.
Or a gummy.
Then it's perfect.
Right.
It's a perfect movie.
Because you're high for 3 hours.
And it, again, like I said, the way that it follows dream logic, that's not dissimilar from like pen ripping logic. You know what I mean? Of like, no, this isn't just like an afterthought of something that was mentioned. No, this is the next 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's almost like Xavier Renegade Angel, where like the next line that he says might be what the rest of the episode is about.
Right.
And it won't make any sense, but you just
then it'll loop back.
Yeah, but you just have to go along with it. And if you are willing to go along with it, it will make sense.
It'll blow your mind.
It will make total sense.
Yeah. The thing about this movie, because of course it's like it's very ethereal and psychedelic in a way that you just don't know what's going on. This is a movie that if I would have seen when we were in college and like off of that Soylent while watching films together, this would be like my entire personality would be this movie. But really, watching this movie now, this movie is just generally like an anxiety attack for 3 hours that just won't ever end.
Well, especially the beginning.
Especially the beginning, but it kind of goes throughout. And this is the reason why Joaquin is my favorite lead performance of the year. Like he was my number one on my ballot.
God, that's so
because
good.
I think that what he is doing in this movie is just like we talked about with Margot, and we're going to talk about with Emma Stone. It's like, there is no one else you could put in this. You can't put fucking Cillian Murphy.
It wouldn't be the same.
Whoever, you cannot put a single other human being in this role except for Joaquin Phoenix. He is the only person who can kind of do what this is doing. And the way that he is like holding his body throughout this movie, it generally like, it gives me like heart palpitations looking just at him throughout this film. And everything
when we do the WBAMs, it's going to be tough to settle on a single scene to submit for scene of the year for this movie. Might end up submitting a couple, honestly, but I think the flashier one is just that short film in the middle where he's on that journey. But the one
the one where he's on the phone with
that's
Patty
what I was
LuPone.
Gonna say.
That's my favorite scene in the movie. The way that he holds his body and like crumples over and it's just like like he becomes a little boy.
It doesn't cut
in that moment.
That's such a long take of him on the phone crumbling, like just reduced to nothing, completely dominated.
That's my favorite scene of the
movie. Fear of his overbearing mother. And that's what this whole movie is built on that fear. And to take it to the lengths that it goes to and go to the place where this movie goes, I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. I have never seen a movie like this. And you could compare it to other things that go fantastical or have those peaks of anxiety and things. Like there are comparisons you can draw for sure, but it feels fully singular.
It is. Yeah. So I don't think that there's any basis. I don't think that there's been any interview in which Ari has confirmed the dream thing necessarily. Like he's like mentioned like, oh, this is like a fever dream. Like he's said that on a couple occasions, but in the same way that like Lynch plays with dream logic and dream imagery a lot. Like he very notably uses that. It's the same way like Salvador Dali, like, the famous story of like he would hold his pen and like try to fall asleep, and when the pen dropped, it would wake him up, and then he would immediately start drawing, and he would just draw his dream. Like that's exactly what this movie is to me. And I don't have a doubt in my head about it. It's the exact way that it makes sense. It's the only way this movie makes sense.
Right.
Hereditary is a better movie than this. And I like this movie better.
This is bigger. This is more ambitious.
It's interesting comparing this to Ari Aster's filmography. Midsommar is my number one for him. Midsommar is like 10 out of 10. Love that movie. Put that up with Under the Skin for like the best horror movies of the last 10 years. I think I would put this on the same level as Hereditary for sure. It is much more ambitious.
I'm just saying
I've never seen anything like this.
Fitting into the medium of movie, Hereditary is better because it like is a movie.
Yeah.
And like this is like something.
Have you ever seen Midsommar?
No.
Okay. Midsommar, I think, is a little bit of a balancing act between the two of these things.
That makes sense.
It's like somewhere in between of like high art.
It's not as unwieldy.
Anything versus like we're going to kind of make an A24 and like Trojan horse in like all these incredible ideas and the best shadow work you've ever seen in your entire life. So that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Shadow work.
Because his work in the shadows.
Facts.
What we do in the shadows. I just think that with this movie, Ari Aster proves that he's like the most, if not the most interesting director in Hollywood right now, the most interesting director for this specific podcast.
Right.
That I'm all in on just whatever he does. I don't know what he can do.
Have you seen what he's doing next? It's Codename Eddington.
That's right. Yeah.
With Joaquin coming back, which I guess bodes well for their relationship after Beau is afraid. Apparently Emma Stone is also attached.
Let's fucking go.
And Pedro Pascal.
It is incredible. This movie fucking bombed. Isn't this the most expensive movie that A24 ever made?
Until Civil War, yeah.
Until Civil War next year.
Yeah.
And it made back like a quarter of its budget. Like it bombed at the box office and people are like, let's try again. Like that's one of those things where it's like
11 million at the box office on a 35 budget.
That's one of those where like he's got a thing, but like whenever you have people like Scorsese, you have people like John Waters that are coming out and being like, this is a masterpiece. You have those people behind you that are recognizing the artistic
Globes.
integrity. Yeah. He got to sit at the same table as Nicolas Cage and Jared Leto.
He took a photo with Barry Keoghan.
Man, fucking nightmare blunt rotation right there at that table.
You see Barry Keoghan looks like a member of like the U.S. women's soccer team with like a heavy tanning bed addiction.
Oh, Barry, don't get melanoma, please.
Beau is afraid. Drew's number 2. My number 9. Hunter, number 2.
We'll have to wait on this for just a bit. I think my number 2 is Poor Things.
Okay, just a bit. My number 2 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay, let's get into it.
Incredible movie. Some of the best visuals I've ever seen depicted on the big screen.
It's perfect.
That's
It's the best, one of the best animated movies ever made.
Like I said earlier, like it's my 7, and truly, if I give it a little more thought, it'd be higher than that, because when we watched it, I gave it 5 stars. I was listening to that podcast when we talked about it. I was adamant. I was like, this is a perfect movie.
It is.
It is.
Because the first one was perfect, and this one feels like it does all that and more. I mean, it's definitely like a lot more ambitious and tries to kind of bite off a little bit more than it can chew. But there's a long history of second chapters leaving you off wanting more. Like, just look at Empire Strikes Back.
That's what I was going to use as the comparison for this, because I think that like there's a difference between this and like, I don't want to like throw shade there, but like Dune Part 1, where I was just like, I really love the first Dune, but I was like, this feels like an incomplete story.
It's weird how Hunter hates Timothy Chalamet.
Wow. It's almost like you don't know that there's chocolate.
Wait till my number.
And there's chocolate.
My number 1.
You've never had chocolate like this. Wonka was my number 11, and I didn't even see it.
Okay. I have The Color Purple. Wow, Drew, that's so brave of you. So I think that this movie is like, it's unbelievable. It's so fucking pitch perfect. And on another day, it might be actually my number 1 of the year, because this has already become a movie. It's become a bedtime movie for me that I'll throw on.
Yeah.
Like,
it goes hard.
There's a cycle of movies. The problem with this movie is I generally fall asleep during the watercolor sequence in the first like 10 to 15 minutes, because it's so peaceful and calming. And it's the Daniel Pemberton score, the best score of the year, hands down. A score that I think I had 1 or 2 of the songs on like my Spotify 100 playlist of the year.
I mean, the intro drumming with Gwen is just incredible.
Fucking unbelievable. It's so good.
Yeah. And then just the Gwen theme, yeah.
It hits so goddamn hard.
They invented so much technology for how this movie looks.
After this movie came out, there was all the controversy of like how like our boys might not be the best filmmakers to work under. Lord and Miller.
Phil Lord.
Specifically Phil Lord. And yes, I am all for like, let's be here for the unionization of animated filmmakers. They are filmmakers just like everybody else. Also, their hard work very much paid off, because I've never in my entire life seen a movie that looks and feels like this.
That's the thing.
They created something.
Yeah.
You like
Listen, hey, it was J.K. Simmons wrong in Whiplash.
Hey, I don't want the guys who built the pyramids to unionize.
Hey. Hey, you know what would happen if they told those guys in the pyramids, "Hey, good job."
There wouldn't be no pyramids.
There'd be no. They would build cubes. Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, this is. I talked about this when we initially had our episode on this movie. It's hard to judge a movie like this compared to other movies because if we're talking about it visually, it's not just, we can't grade it on a scale of 1 to 10 because it's almost an exponential thing. This movie is orders of magnitude better looking than any movie that came out this year. It is like, you know what I mean? Like it's not on this,
Just your eyes cannot comprehend.
like it doesn't operate on the same scale as anything that was shot IRL. And that's not like a switching mediums thing because most animated movies aren't like that. You can judge most animated movies on a scale similar to normal looking movies. This movie is just one of the best looking movies ever made.
Right. It's because
I'm willing to say that.
It's because, and this goes back to the first Spider-Verse too, that like what they have tapped in with this story that they are telling that has now revolutionized all of animation. Like it's not exaggeration. It'd be like the first Spider-Verse movie is one of the most important movies to ever happen to animation.
Puss in Boots,
because it's
Teenage
saying
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You don't have to just play in the same sandbox. We don't have to make every character look like a Pixar character anymore. Right. Not every guy has to look like the Inside Out dad. Okay, we can do different things. Grant, he's a hunk. Okay, he's hot. But you can do different types of animation, and you can do them within the same movie, kind of on top of each other, and it's not going to feel like it's going to clash anymore.
And then
you can have something like watercolor sequences where it's expressionistic and it's going to flash to different types of colors and it's going to create a feeling in you as an audience member, and it doesn't have to like be like, oh, this isn't grounded in realism.
And
that's not what animation is about.
And even beyond sequences, like moment to moment, the animation style is changing.
Within the same scene, you will see different types of drawing and different types of animation
it's not
happening.
so it's
within
not
the same shot.
And that is what is possible when you have this amount of people working under an abusive boss.
The demands.
It's like when I watched a good amount of the other two this year and I was like, damn, that guy.
It's fun.
Maybe they nailed it.
That fucking prick was a great motivator.
Yeah. It's not just the visuals though. I think, the story is also incredibly bold because, in a year, I said this earlier when we were talking about Barbie, but in a year where the superhero genre completely just fell out.
We haven't even talked about that up at the top, that the superhero genre died this year.
Yeah. And yet, this is
not died, because that feels like an over-exaggeration,
and
but Marvel as we know it.
We haven't gotten to my number one yet, so...
Quantum? Did you dive into the quantum realm?
That's right.
I don't think
you can't. It's too late to boost your picks for the Fantasy Film League. You're like, oh, Captain Marvel's still out in theaters. Go to a drive-in near you.
I'm a feminist.
This is a superhero movie. Yeah. And in a year where all the superhero movies just completely fell up from under the bottom, this one rose to the top because not only because of the visuals, but because the story is directly about the fact that it's based on a long history of comic book stories. I think that's part of the magic of this movie, is that it's directly leaning into this idea of these stories becoming so ubiquitous and being so accepted into the culture, and people knowing what the strokes of what the template is, and our hero Miles wanting to break out.
And we also, on top of that, we live in a world, that where a lot of content has already played on top of that notion. Mm-hmm. And yet this movie did it in a definitive, sort of culture defining way. Like there have been, obviously things like Community have done this for years and years, where they
playing in genre.
Yeah. And just, playing with the idea of using writers' terms in the media itself.
Right.
But
into the text.
But this year, one of the defining, film impact traits of the year was the term canon event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being
Because of this movie.
Yeah, that the word canon now is known by everyone.
Everybody
C-A-N-O-N,
knows
not
what
canon
canon.
with two N's, like the one N canon event, and like the one, the sound, the wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Like that
huge TikTok sound.
giant,
just everywhere.
yeah, like it became a giant trend, and that was a good trend. Those were funny videos. That sort of showed like the shared experience between groups of people,
right?
Which ultimately was the goal of the movie itself in defining canon event. It was like, this is the shared experience of all groups of protagonists.
Yeah, the idea that you have to live this bit of your life to matter.
That's
to
the
exist.
the crossover between Across the Spider-Verse and Past Lives is the girlies that are out here just being like, hey, you know what? In every lifetime we pass each other. Do 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 do.
In every lifetime,
Right,
I end up with John Magaro.
And
In my dreams, okay?
incredible cast. Daniel Kaluuya.
The voice cast is
Haley
truly
Stein-
unreal. Like, it is
Steinfeld.
a unbelievable voice cast. And, with each of these Across the Spider-Verse movies, it kind of just like throws salt on anything that people enjoyed about No Way Home. And like a movie that I enjoyed, but it's just like, oh my God, that's Toby walking through a portal. And this is just like, we have so many incredible voice casts. You even have the cameo of Donald Glover showing up here as alternate Prowler and everything else like that, to be like
the fact that we have so many realms packed into each other.
Yeah.
And Drew still had it in
That's
his
the
top
thing.
10.
You have you gave this movie 5 stars, and this is as realmy as a realm can get.
There's a whole realm that the whole point of the realm is that there are realms inside of the realm.
The realms all connect to one other realm.
Listen, it hurt watching it.
But then when you saw Peter parked car, you knew, you knew that it was all worth it.
Now you saw AO and you're like, I'm in safe hands.
That's the thing. Lord and Miller able to pack anything with like, you know what I mean? Like just like the base level good jokes that it's going to work.
I will also just say one other thing, because I don't want to elaborate on this too much because you did a whole episode on this months ago. But like one thing that, again, it connects to like all of the different ideas of like the script, the casting of having him in here, and also the animation that's used to visualize his character. But Spot, the decision to make like this,
Jason Schwartzman
this
again.
new 2-part, the climax of this trilogy that we're gonna see be behind Jason Schwartzman and Spot, who's like not a B-list, not a C-list, like a D or an F-list villain. And like they were just like, this is going to be the guy.
This is the guy.
This is the perfect version of this. And we're going to visualize him through like Don Hertzfeldt style animation to like truly showcase what
the line
you're
work.
seeing here. It's so cool. It's so goddamn cool. It's so I don't even know. It like is one of those movies that as I watch it, I'm like, I kind of can't help myself. I feel myself being sucked back into like being a little boy.
It's not fair to compare it to other movies in a certain way. And that's almost why I put it lower, because I was like, yeah, but it's not even fair. Like that movie should just be
too good.
It could just be number like I said, this should just be number 1 on my list. The first Across Spider-Verse, I think it was number 1 on my list. It was number 1 or number 2 the year that came out. And like this should might as well just be right there too.
It's not like
or Into the Spider-Verse.
Movie I'm almost interested to see how the next one operates, because like I know that obviously like it is feasibly possible for a movie to look like this absent of like overworking and abuse, but like it's hard for every scene to fundamentally be animated in a different way, depending on what character you're seeing. Like
unreal.
That's a lot of work, bro.
Yeah.
Insane.
Someone's got to be sort of like holding the whip there.
That's the thing.
Listen, I hate this.
I mean, that's almost the thing where I was gonna compare this to Empire Strikes Back in like both a positive and a negative way, and that like, yeah, that's the best Spider-Man, the best Star Wars movie. You know what followed that up is like a pretty mids movie after that. Now, do I think that the follow-up to this is going to be The Return of the Jedi? No. I have more faith in the hands behind this than I do George Lucas to like create a cohesive, a satisfying third act to the story. But it is something where like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the third one and we're like, that was really good. That wasn't as good as Across the Spider-Verse, but that was still really, really good. And like, that's probably fine. Like, that's good. We're still going to end up with one of the best trilogies ever made.
Right.
But yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse is my number 2 and Hunter's 4 and Drew's 7. All right, here we are. Number 1. Drew?
Number 1.
Poor Things. It's also my number 1.
Oh, that's cute.
Let's talk about May December.
Wait, what?
Your number 1.
So my number 1 is
Trolls World Tour.
I know.
Was it
Hunter? I
I
know.
can't remember. Was it Iron Claw? Was it?
I know you're shocked that I could figure this out via your texts.
Was it? Creed?
You sent.
Was
Hunter,
it Creed 3? Was it? Oh, you know what? I think it was Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget.
Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Here, let me read. To,
Was it
to
Lynch / Oz?
To the listener, me and Hunter's text yesterday. He said at 3:22 p.m. unprompted, you should definitely try to watch May December before the pod tomorrow.
Definitely.
And I said, oh, how long is it? Past lives is my priority number 1. He was like, super easy, 2 hours. I was like, okay, maybe. He was like, without spoiling, I will just say that it is very, very, very high on my list.
Who said that?
How high is it?
Well, I could tell you guys, or I could show you.
Oh, he did it! He did it!
He's wearing something.
Doing it!
He's taking his...
He's taking off the whole thing.
Yeah, fill my tummies. Yeah.
Wow. We both did the same bit. That's great.
So my number 1 is 80 for Brady.
I'm glad that you didn't spoil. And you texted me. You said, without spoiling, I will say it is very, very, very...
All I said was that it was very, very high on my list. So May December. It's a film that you have not... May December. I've always been naive. The gift.
Welcome to the weboughtamic.
I didn't know there was a lisp involved. I would have watched it.
Brother.
Julianne Moore has a hell of a list.
Oh, you should have said that. I would have watched it.
Here's the thing about this movie. I think this is one of my favorite movies of like the 2010s or the 2020s. This movie is a absolute masterpiece. I think it's like one of those movies that makes me want to go in. And I'm a Todd Haynes lifer now after seeing this movie. It is, for people who don't know, it's a Netflix movie. It had a whole big like Twitter meme-assance a few weeks ago because it's loosely based on the Mary Kay
Scandal.
Say her
Mary Kay Letourneau.
Yeah, I always say her name wrong. Thank you. The Mary Kay Letourneau scandal of a woman in her 30s having an affair with a teenager. I say loosely based because that takes the general premise and idea of her having this affair, having a baby from this teenage boy, and then them getting married and staying together. However, that's about where the comparison ends. From there, it breaks off into being something pretty wholly original. It includes a trio of performances from Natalie Portman, our girl, Julianne Moore.
I should have watched
and,
this.
Charles Melton. This is, I think, one of the best like trio of performances I have seen in my entire life, maybe. It's so fucking masterful. How this works, not just as like a story where it's kind of like a 3-level movie where like it's my favorite type of film where you can watch it. Dumb guys can watch it and be like, damn, that shit's crazy that she like fucking a child and then like they got married.
Sensational.
You can also watch it where you can empathize with Julianne Moore's Gracie in a way and see like, She's always been naive. And
That's awesome.
you can see it as a story about celebrity and specifically a film about acting. It's one of the best movies about acting and about
It's
trying to
written
become
by a former cast director.
Yeah. And
Casting
that
director.
answer it, like whenever I saw that, I read about it and then rewatched this movie again, it unlocked even more than it did for me the first time. On first watch, I was like, this is a perfect movie. And then I was like, this is somehow like notched up even more so after like reading and investigating and then looking back at this more, the way that it kind of unpacks itself. Truth be told, I went into this movie completely blind. I had no earthly idea what this movie was before I fired it up one day. Didn't even know that this was about a story, like about the Mary Kay Letourneau story.
like a real.
Yeah. And just kind of went along for the ride. And I think that regardless of that, it is unreal. I think that Charles Melton, it is one of those rare star-making performances.
He's out there.
I don't think he's going to win. I think that
He might not even be nominated, to be honest with you.
He'll be nominated. I think this is RDJ's to lose at this point in time, especially after the Globes. But I am sure that I'm fairly sure that he'll be nominated. And this is one of those things where it's like the guy who is like a C actor on Riverdale is going to be the one person to really truly break out from that show, which maybe that makes sense. That's somebody from there. But the way that this movie almost plays with him casting wise, that like he looks boyish, and that's kind of the point of the movie, it's so expertly crafted. So much of this movie is so expertly crafted. I mentioned it before, like the acting is so unreal. It's the best use of Julianne Moore probably since Magnolia. So we're talking 25 years at this point. It's perfect. Absolute perfection of the movie.
I like the movie. I didn't love it.
Oof.
I would like to give it the rewatch to see if it hits different.
Woof.
I thought it was great.
I gotta say, vibe wise and subject matter wise, you just sold it to me really great. Like I'm so excited to watch this.
I think that this is a movie that just like sit down, kind of let it wash over you, because this is a movie that it's not going to spoon feed you the story or the themes.
That's probably why Ernest didn't like it.
Yeah,
because it didn't fucking spoon feed his simple bitch ass fucking plot.
Ernest is waiting. He has Quantumania at number 1.
Yeah, he's like opening his mouth like, oh, where's mommy? Drop the worm into my mouth, mommy bird.
Do you have a sweet tooth? I do.
I know what your number one is.
No, I think that if you just like let this movie wash over you and embrace it, the thing about this movie, and since you haven't seen it, I won't spoil anything about the third act. I think the third act of this movie notches it up to an 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
It notches it up to like, I would give this a 6-star if I could, because I think that like where it goes to, I'm like, you did it. You fucking did it. And that's kind of the thing where it's just so expertly written. And we talked about it with the Holdovers, where it's like you made every right move along the way. I feel like that is this to the nth degree. And a lot of that goes into like the way that this film is made. So, and included in that is not just Todd Haynes' direction, but the score of this movie.
It's so
I was
funny.
trying to pull up.
They have jokes with this score.
So,
because it takes notes from like soap opera music.
yes, it's almost like, Drew, this is a reason why I want you to watch this movie, because it almost has like, it's trying to make a B version of itself in real life. It's trying to make the Hallmark movie of the Mary Kay Letourneau story.
So
while filming it with a quality.
So listen, I wasn't planning on bringing this up in this episode, maybe the TV one, but recently I've been watching The Act from 2019.
Oh.
You remember that?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
the Joey King show? Is that what this is?
It's the show about Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
It's Joey King, yeah, and Patricia Arquette.
Oh, okay.
Patty.
Who's Joey King?
The main girl in The Act,
Oh,
2019, the show you're watching.
I'm being I guess I'm being sexist by hearing Joey King and assuming, you know what I mean? That's sort of what I thought of that show as I watched it. Is like, this is like a Lifetime show if you put like incredible people in it.
Yeah, that's what
And like
this movie is.
shot it immaculately.
So
and
it's
guess
that-
what? I love The Act.
Well, here's the thing. It's that, but also it knows exactly what it is. And without spoiling the third act, this is a movie that knows what it could be and is kind of embracing that, but also like giving it the middle finger at the same time.
And
like
it
it's
also,
playing both sides of the coin.
It also has a lot to say about just what actors go through to take on a role, especially a role based on a real person that's living right now. Like, that's the whole point of the movie, is Natalie Portman is playing Julianne Moore.
She's going to Savannah, Georgia to research a character for a role. So she's spending all this time with Julianne Moore, who's the real life, like the Mary Kay.
It has a lot to say about like what even is acting, and like how does someone pretending to be someone that is real differentiate from someone who is real pretending to be someone that they're not. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the balancing act that this movie does, is like, what are the roles that we play in our own lives? What are the acts that we are acting in our lives? Yeah. And then when someone comes along to pretend to be us, who are they really pretending to be?
Yeah, where did the facades end and what is the real?
Right.
Like, what fronts, how many layers of fronts do we put on? Not just like, this is what I do with friends, this is what I do with loved ones, this is what I do with family. Like, this is like all of these layers and how you peel them all back.
Trauma and abuse. It keeps on layering that.
So that's just one part of the movie, though, because there's also the Charles Melton character, which is like somebody who was 15 at the time that he became a dad, and then is just stuck in this state of arrested development because he had a child with a 35-year-old woman, and he never got to be, not even just like a teen, never got to be an adult, never got to even be like a late teen or anything like that. There's a moment in the movie where Julianne Moore's like, do you know, like, Joe was with more women than I was with men. I was only with one man before I was with Joe. And it's just like, it's these lies that people tell themselves through years and years. I need you to watch the movie because I've been practicing my Julian.
No, that's the thing, is I can tell.
I've been practicing my Gracie.
I can tell without even watching it. That's good.
But the piece de resistance of this film, my favorite part of this movie, is a monologue that Natalie Portman gives looking directly into the camera, doing that.
Yeah, it's Natalie Portman doing a Julianne Moore, which, to be honest,
it is some of the best shit I've ever seen. I'm
gonna be honest, I didn't know that Natalie Portman had this in her. I've never seen Natalie Portman give a performance where I was like, damn, she fucking did it. Like, I don't know about you guys. Like, that's just not something that I've thought of Natalie Portman. What
about Anakin? You're breaking my heart.
Yeah, okay. Like, Natalie Portman is an actress who I've always enjoyed in things, but I never thought that she was like, I've never seen her in anything where I've just been like, no one else could do that role.
I haven't seen Black Swan.
That's the only one that's...
Yeah.
You're the Aronofsky boy. What do you got to say about Black Swan?
You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
Okay, never mind.
Right, we can't break through this guy.
Shouldn't have got the wine bottle out.
No, this movie is like, it's so perfect. It is so on another level.
No, I know.
I think it's such a stroke of mastery, and like every way has so much fucking depth to it that it has one of those things where it's working on like, it has the iceberg thing where you can just watch it and just enjoy so many different aspects of it. I've now watched this movie 3 times. I'm going to watch this many more times in my life because also it's very breezy. It's like 2 hours or less. clear kind of act breaks in the movie that are happening. And there's just some scenes that are going to resonate with me for the rest of my life. The scene with Charles Melton and his son on the roof.
Great scene.
Again, avoid spoiling things. The Charles Melton and not Anne Hathaway, Natalie Portman scene that they have together is gutting, and it's just beautiful. Just absolute perfection. It's my number one.
I should have seen it. I feel like I would have aligned more with you than with this fucking guy over here.
Yeah.
I like
It's just
it.
like, I gotta make space for fucking Big Nose Maestro.
It's in my top 30.
I gotta make space for fucking top 30. Get the fuck out of here.
It's in my top 25.
My top 25. I've only seen 35 movies. Actually, I have no idea. How many movies have you seen this year?
61.
Damn, you got me beat.
I always like to get to 60.
Look at you go.
Once I get to 60, I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Once I get to 10, I'm like, that's a list.
The rest is gravy.
Honey,
okay?
that's a list right there.
So
I gotta say though, I'm excited to watch this. I think Todd Haynes has like an underdog case for like coolest director right now because he has all the tenets of like a cool.
His name's Todd.
Yeah, named Todd.
We love directors named
Yeah,
Todd.
there's one other Todd I can think of, and that guy is cool as hell.
everybody knows that guy.
Number 2, history, making cool documentaries. He made the Velvet Underground.
Velvet Underground, which is a really cool
which
doc.
is, by the way, Velvet Underground, arguably the coolest band ever.
Yeah.
C, a really hard...
Notably a rival of friend of the pod, Dane.
Facts. C, a really hard to find early career film because he made a film about Karen Carpenter entirely with dolls, and there was like a lawsuit, and so like you can't find that movie anywhere. I want to watch. I've like years ago I tried to find it because Karen Carpenter has a crazy story, and like that sounds awesome. He clearly plays a lot with like identity, you know what I mean? And like what makes a performer versus an object. And then because he went on to make that Bob Dylan movie.
I'm not there.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Which is like conceptually so cool.
Yeah. Doesn't quite work, but it's a big swing.
Yeah. Listen, I think that this is a movie that really works. It's funny. Todd Haynes is like just a huge blind spot for me. I am one of like, I think 27 people on earth who saw Dark Waters, a movie I really enjoyed. They knew again.
Yeah.
A movie that I really enjoyed and just got completely lost on.
We are on hour 4 of this podcast, but
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I did want to bring something up. I did search for Superstar: the Karen Carpenter story, if it's available to watch. And the first thing that comes up is something called Oppenheimer: the real story.
So that's not anything that you typed.
But it's the first thing that comes up when I search Superstar: the Karen Carpenter story.
Cool.
So apparently there is a real story about Oppenheimer.
Yeah. I really want to see
that guy was
Safe.
real.
I thought that was all fiction. I really want to see Safe and Far From Heaven, like some of Todd Haynes' older works. There was
I want to see Poison.
Poison, yeah, too. There was a really nice book about Todd Haynes that got delivered to us at the Critics
About his career.
I'm so in on this,
dude. Here's the thing. Julianne Moore in May December is gonna become a character for me, and I just need you to see it so that you can just embrace that. I'm gonna bust into Gracie from time to time on this podcast. So if nothing else, I need you to see the movie so that I can do this.
The lisp disappears when she becomes a lot more secure in her current adult self.
But also, it comes back sometimes. Like I've always been naive. Some say it's a gift.
This
Julianne Moore rules in this. She's so fucking good.
Also, generally, like,
that's negative.
I mean, again, talking toward the act comparison, that show is the best impression show I've ever seen. Where like you can do the main girl, Joey King, is going like,
I don't know. I guess I'm just like
I can't walk.
Yeah, there's something wrong with me.
and then like Have you seen the whole thing?
I haven't seen anything.
Oh my God.
You're like the most Patty Arquette pilled person that I know.
I just know that someone is pretending to be like disabled or something. And
It's a Munchausen's thing where like her mom is insane and like basically convinced the world and her that she like had cancer and all this crazy shit.
And it was all
when there was
lie.
nothing wrong with her. Yeah. And so she got this incel guy who is one of the best performances of like an absolute freaky ass white boy that I've ever seen in my life.
There's a freaky ass white boy in May, December.
Hey, let's go.
Hey, our boy.
It's hard to do.
That guy is insane.
It's hard to do.
How do we get that guy on the pod?
Dude,
Who is that guy?
The son,
Yeah.
who's just like the most burnout. Like, I don't know how they were like, we're looking for a burnout piece of shit guy.
There's
Like a
definitely
guy you just look at
Tallahassee
and
guys that are this guy.
yes, 100%.
The guys that like show up to every gig, like they
like they
have a
definitely
steady gig at like the local bar.
they play at Hurricane on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
R.I.P.
In the act, it's like she gets this.
Corey Michael Smith is this guy. I had to look up Georgie, this fucking guy.
Impression movies and shows, it's very important. Obviously, the greatest of all time is always going to be Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
Dr. Lecter.
All right. May December is honors number one.
May December is my number one.
Poor Things. Number one, baby. Here we are.
Come on.
Poor
We
thing.
did a big fatty episode. Is there anything we didn't say on that episode that we feel like we needed to shout out? Did we talk about Willem enough? I feel like we talked a
So
lot.
Willem, I don't know how you guys feel about this. It feels like if anybody is going to be nominated in the supporting race, it's going to be Willem over
Mark,
Mark.
but he's
And
a mate. But Mark is
how-
incredible in this movie.
No, I was going to ask you guys what you think about that because personally, I disagree with the decision. But was it SAG that came out with Willem and
over
not Mark?
yeah.
That kind of leads
But
me to believe that if one
this
of
might
them's going to
be-
get the nom,
This might be Mark Ruffalo's like best performance. He's incredible in this movie.
Yeah, it's this and Zodiac.
Here's what I'll say about Poor Things is I didn't know that anybody involved with this movie could do this. I didn't know that Yorgos could do this. I didn't know that Mark could do this. I didn't know that Emma Stone could do this.
That's the fastest way to say it is like, whoa, all these people are really, they have another gear.
They're cooking with heat that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, like I said, all the way 4.5 hours ago at the beginning of this podcast, I value.
Really want to highlight that, huh?
I value when I look back at the year and I look at what I value in cinema. One of the biggest things for me is how much can you show me what cinema can do, and how much does that resonate with what I look in film. And this movie not only showed me something artistic, a new way to look at the world, new ways to view all of these artists flexing their artistic muscles, but I had a great fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
It was so fucking entertaining. It was so fun.
So I called Barbie the funniest movie of the year. The hardest I actually laughed at a movie was Poor Things. And part of that was just out of just pure shock and delight. You know what I mean? Whereas like Barbie, it was like, oh, like these are like written jokes that are working for me. Poor Things is just like I was just, it was like a smorgasbord of insane shit.
Nonstop too.
Yeah, that I didn't know I wanted to see. It rocks so hard. I think one thing going against Ruff is since watching it and talking about it, my theory has only grown in my own head that this is a fucked up version of Barbie. And so that doesn't bode well for Ruffalo in particular because Gosling.
He's going up against Gosling.
Yeah, and they're doing a similar thing.
Mega Ken.
Yeah, they're doing a similar thing of sort of like revolving around a lead woman in a funny way.
Yeah. I never thought about it in that way of like pairing up the Ruffalo.
The thing about Gosling is Gosling has his moment where he essentially steals the movie. Like the I'm Just Ken is, I think, the best part of that movie.
It's the defining song.
The Poor Things doesn't really have that. Like I can't really point to a scene like the I'm Just Ken ballet that really stands out. Like the totality of Poor Things is incredible to me. If I had to pick something, it would be
The Nazi guy.
No, it would probably be the cruise ship. The whole
with Gerard Carmichael and
then culminating in her trying to give away the money, like all of that.
really, that's your kind of your go-to.
This whole movie captivated the shit out of me. It's very hard for me to point to one part of this movie, to single out one part of this movie, because the entire thing, every single moment, every single second of this movie blew me away.
I'm really excited to see this movie again. I really wish I would have seen this movie opening weekend in theaters because of all the reports of the amount of people that were walking out of the theater. Yeah. Like, by all accounts, this is like the most walked out of movie in like 10 years.
As soon as they start fucking.
We said it at the time. We warned you at home. This is like the most nudity I've ever seen in a movie. That's why even to this day, because Poor Things was a winner at the Golden Globes, and people are like, Poor Things, is that running in second to Oppenheimer? There's still no fucking way that this movie will ever win Best Picture because of how much fucking takes place.
Emma Stone said it best at the Golden Globes the other night when she won Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. This is a rom-com, and it's a story about a woman that falls in love with life. That's the perfect way to encapsulate.
And I still don't know. And that's what I told my parents.
Is a rom-com.
That was the only warning I gave to my parents.
And you watched it with them, right?
Oh, hey, listen.
But that's what
in like a Beau is afraid kind of manner, where you're just like, I need to nut. I'm going insane.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like any description of the movie is not going to lend.
I told my parents, do not watch this movie. You will hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I would tell I would be like, oh, Mom, you're going to turn it off.
Yeah.
Quickly.
I will say this is one of those things that I don't recommend. I don't recommend pretty much any movie to my family, but this is definitely
Wonka.
One that would never be listed on there.
The Color Wonka.
The color, Jesus Christ. One thing I wanted to shout out, because I don't remember if whenever we did the whole pod we talked about the score at all, but Jerson Fendrix is a guy who never really did a film score before. What if I told you that our boy was a frequent collaborator with Black Midi and Black Country New Road?
Holy shit.
Our fucking king has been out here.
This
Jerskin.
This won't beat Ludwig at the Oscars. Like, Ludwig will win. Yeah. But at the Globes, when Poor Things won, I believe, 2 Golden Globes, and both times that they blasted the score. No. It was not that one. It was like the very like energetic orchestral one. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing.
It's so good. It was
sweeping.
I think it was my number 3. I have to look back at my ballot, but I'm pretty sure that this was my number 3 score of the year. It's incredible. This movie rocks. Like I said before we started this, that my top 4 are all 5-star movies, and on any given day they could be number 1. And maybe I'm interested to see how this movie ages. Like, what are we going to look back on this movie in like 5 years, 10 years? And a lot of that's going to have to do with what does Yorgos do? What does Emma Stone do? What does Ruffalo
I believe
do?
This is a timeless movie. This is a movie that speaks to the deepest cores of humanity and what we look for in life and what we think is important. There's just so much here in terms of like the core desires of humanity and the intellectual aspirations of humanity.
So I think this movie is going to be timeless. Yes, I think that it has all of that. I also think that there's something about this movie that like it taps into, like, if we saw this movie 10 years ago when we were first going to college, Do you have any idea how obnoxious we would be about Poor Things? The amount of people who would be like coming over us and be like, dude, have you seen Poor Things though?
Titties.
Like, I'm gonna turn on Poor Things. I'm gonna turn on Poor Things. Like just like while people are coming over, just making them sit down and watch this movie.
Zoom in on that
And
ruffle.
I think that we would not be alone. I think that this is going to inspire like a lot of younger like film bros intro to like abstract cinema, and that's not to degrade Poor Things in any way at all, but I think that it's so accessible for how abstract and how expressionistic that it is, that I think that this is going to kind of be one of those centerpiece movies in the way that like we look like film guys look back at something like Brazil like as just something that's so atmospheric and ethereal and otherworldly. And Yorgos has been compared to Terry Gilliam before, so like maybe that is just a comparison that comes to mind. But this feels like one of those things that it just feels like it's going to be one of those connections that's going to exist there forever.
And he's also, to be frank, he is better than Terry Gilliam. And I know that usually you want to like give time to say, you want to give time to say things like that. Terry Gilliam is a legend in his own right, but he also like made some shitty movies.
Well,
and,
I think
Yorgos has yet to do that.
That's the thing, is that Terry Gilliam has made like 4 times as many movies as Yorgos. Yorgos just hasn't had that long of a runway yet. We'll see what comes from this. I don't really see Yorgos falling off a cliff from here though. So
I love all of Yorgos movies that I've seen. The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Favorite. I think this is his best movie by a lot.
Oh yeah, man.
This is a huge level up.
It's not close.
Huge level up.
And I won't be upset with him if his next one is worse, because this instantly became one of my favorite movies ever when I watched it.
Yeah.
I think that this is sort of a rare product where you're getting 3 signature performances from actors who were already excellent. You're getting 1 breakout performance in Rami Youssef.
Oh, he's so good in this.
Yeah, you're getting.
I love him in this.
Yeah, which we watched his show and we knew that he was capable of a lot, but still, you never know how the bright lights are gonna take someone, and he does an awesome job in it. You're getting a step up from a director who has already been very stylistic. He's doing more style-wise in this movie than he ever did. Yeah, like he is
unreal.
He's not getting less daring with the way his shit looks. Like he's upping the ante in this movie visually. Like you're getting, you get like black and white sequences. You get so much CG. You get like burping bubbles. you get a lot visually that's like hard to do. And then on top of that, all the Oscars that he won for The Favorite, when it came to like costuming and like set decoration, yada, yada, that's still here. Like it's such like a maximization of everything he had to work with.
And then some.
Yeah. I did not think I would walk out of this movie being like, oh yeah, that's number 1. Like,
well, I just remember
that, but I left and I was like, oh, nothing is that's the best movie in several years.
I just remember sitting as soon as the credits rolled and I was like, damn, he cooked.
Yeah.
He fucking cooked. And, my number 2 movie, Spider-Verse, like that's a movie that I started levitating from the moment that movie started. And Poor Things, I didn't necessarily feel that from the
No,
jump.
bro, because you have no fucking clue what's going to happen.
But there was a moment somewhere in the middle where it just got me. Like, and it didn't let go. Because this movie, it doesn't make it easy for you. It just throws you into this absolutely bizarre, insane premise of this woman Frankenstein baby brain monster that is trying to make sense of her life. And at the beginning of the movie, you don't really know what's going on. And somewhere in the middle there, you just latch onto it. You're on the wavelength and you understand exactly the path that she's on and you join her. And by the end, I just felt like I had been all the way around and had gone through a whole journey.
Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast where someone it was the guest was Jabuki Young White, and he called it. He said it was a feminist socialist Forrest Gump.
Sure.
Yeah. And I call it like a fucked up version of Barbie. But it has that feeling of like a journey. You know what I mean? Like you're getting like a full journey. You're getting a full arc of a character. Screenwriting wise, this movie is a triumph based on the lines given to Bella Baxter alone.
Yeah.
Like that's a crazy exercise in writing, is to have a gradually increasing of vocabulary that grows faster than like it's almost like if you ever met a really smart kid who had like sort of absentee parents in school, where like
smart.
This kid like is clearly smart, knows a ton of words, but like doesn't know how to put them together right. Like that's where you end up with her, where like she has certain tools and she has an understanding, but she cannot say things in a normal way.
Yeah.
It's so fun to listen to every line
and see her evolve across.
and the way that every single scene it changes, the like her capabilities.
What a performance.
Ernie, are you a The Great guy?
No,
Because that's like Tony McNamara's show. Like I know that he's the creator of that show, the writer of Poor Things.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Like he
Damn,
created
I
that
need
show.
to
I
watch
think
that.
he wrote like every episode of The Great.
Oh
That's
my
why-
God. I need to
didn't
watch The Great.
I know. I want to watch
That's
that.
why I didn't know you're our
I did not
resident
know that.
TV boy. I thought that you would
I need
be on this.
I need to watch The Great. Holy shit.
Ernie, don't worry. You have a week till we do our
true.
TV episode.
Yeah.
It's just and yeah, on top of that, like I'm trying to think of things I didn't say during the initial episode about this, but Emma Stone's my performance of the year, male or female. I don't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's again just like it's like a writing exercise to write her part. It's like an acting exercise from fucking hell to perform.
That's
this.
that's my thing, that it feels bad to go against like something like Lily Gladstone in
Killers.
but like I think that this is kind of a once in a generation type performance that you're seeing.
It's just like how many
It's like
times
one of those
do you
things
get
where
to-
it's like this is like a vintage LeBron year. Like there's no denying like what you are seeing here on screen. No other person, not only no other person like alive right now, maybe no other person in history could do what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It could go so wrong so
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
man.
What if there's like, we hired fucking Anne Hathaway to
I knew you were
do
going to
this.
say fucking Anne Hathaway.
I wasn't trying to dunk on Anne Hathaway.
It's just it's impossibly hard what she pulled off here. It's so fun to watch, and on top of that, I want to go back to the
We got Anna Kendrick to star in the new Yorgos Lanthimos film. Poor
Hey,
Things.
Margaret
bro
Qualley?
just Googled women.
I'm seeing if the cast of Trolls Band together could come in and take over.
Justin Timberlake.
Could we have JT in the Mark
yeah.
Ruffalo role being like, ow,
I could see
Bella?
Bella?
well, that's what I wanted to get back to, is because like usually a lead performance this strong and signature and like all encompassing doesn't leave any space for like other crazy good performances, and yet you have three others in the movie. Like that's so weird. Like this is a truly unusual movie, construction wise, to have so much script wise to grab onto, that you have one I agree, once in a generation performance of someone performing like lines that you will not encounter in any other walk of life, let alone movie. And then on top of that, you have Ruffalo doing something he's never done. Really, really well. You have Defoe, who's done everything, doing something he's never done. And then you have you have the birth of Rami Youssef as like someone in a movie, and he's doing awesome.
Yeah.
Like to have space for all of that in your script, like I really, because we talked plenty about Yorgos because he's like going to be in our lives for the next 30 years. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if this might be my favorite movie he ever makes. because this is like
for a while at least.
Yeah, well, just because I like to strike this exact tone is really rare, even if you're great, like this doesn't come along that often.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this might be my favorite he ever does, but we're gonna see plenty of Yorgos. I gotta shout out Tony, because like to have that much shit going on in your script and have it all still feel simple in a weird way.
And adapting what's probably a really like just out there book.
Yeah.
That's not, apparently it's not really Bella centric at all.
Exactly.
And to turn it into a Bella centric
It's just
story.
like a general Frankenstein like story.
That's it. And the movie doesn't feel like it's going to be Bella centric, because when we meet her, she's like 1 year old, basically.
She's just another one of the fucking duck dogs that he has.
She's just going like duh, duh. Like it's insane. Like when we find out we're going to be following her, I was like skeptical while watching it. I was like, wait. I thought we were hanging out with Willem and I felt very safe. And now we're following this girl who is like 3 mentally. Like, how is that going to go?
Which I've seen a lot of takes out there. A lot of people have been posting on the internet. People are logging on to the World Wide Web to be like, oh, Poor Things is actually the worst movie I've ever seen because it depicts a child.
Dude, I can't engage with people.
It's like, I have no time for that.
Here's the thing is like, if you are wrapped up in the idea of it's like a child having sex, like
watch the movie. That's clearly not what it is.
You are not. I don't even want to say you can't see the forest through the trees, because I feel like that's giving you too much respect. Like that's like just saying like you don't understand anything about the metaphor that's happening. Also, there's like this weird repression of like, I was once a teenager and felt a certain type of way. Like you can just accept the thing that like, when you reach a certain age hormonally, you're like,
horny.
I gotta fuck. Yeah. I gotta do something. Look at Beau, and Beau is afraid.
Well, he doesn't, because he's going to die.
And see what happens to him because he doesn't nut. You gotta nut. You just gotta.
The magic of Poor Things is that, yeah, she has an infant brain in her head, but also it's a movie and it's crazy.
It's also,
and she evolves so fast.
That's also
throughout
like,
the course of the movie.
I think that the whole thing of like, oh, it's like a child's brain is it's like, view it as the metaphor of like all of humankind, of like we were once just like apes just like fucking each other because that's all that like monkey brain could do.
Right.
And then we're like, wait, there's science and empathy and something more to this.
Exactly.
That's what the real film is trying to say. Is
that's
like,
what it's about.
Not
it's
just,
like a crash course in evolution.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like
intelligence.
Exactly. Yeah. She discovers horny, and then she gets smart, and then she gets like a crash course in like classism, and she's like, wait a minute,
society.
People with things are bad to people without.
And it's like,
them.
wait, I just want to give all my money to everybody.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
then,
well, you can't do that. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not how.
And then she's like, wait a minute. Like,
I could profit off of.
Women are oppressed because of this sexual like thing that they have against men. But what if we were able to weapon it's a crash course in just like the human condition that she gets. And that's why it reminds me of Barbie.
That's like the progressive ideals that have gotten lost in this is like, what if we weaponized our sexuality because men are still stuck in like ooga booga monkey brain of like, I'm horny. They're still stuck in yelling Bella, and like we haven't gotten there, and like women have advanced beyond this to just being like, I can give this to you. I can even make this better for you in the moment if you want it.
Yeah,
but I'm going to. I need
more.
This.
Yeah, it's the fact. It's like the monkey in the movie is Mark Ruffalo. Like when. It's best depicted when she is like thriving at this brothel, and he literally is still he's in the same little plaza just sleeping on a bench, and every time he sees her he's like, I hate you. I hate you.
So good.
You bitch. It's so fucking funny. And then on top of that, like, it's not just saying like broad sweeping things about like men in general. Like she comes back home and like Remy is very smart, and obviously Willem is very smart, but like they're emotionally shut off in different ways that make her laugh because she is in a way like kind of a superhero by the end of it. Like she has a full understanding of humanity and she has like a wealth of experiences. And on top of all that, she is like brilliant. Like by the end of the movie, she's a mega genius. Where she's able to see things, but with this weird, like, like overhead perspective of like, I remember my day where I like felt like that.
Yeah. I'm interested. I really want to see this movie again because my only thing whenever we saw this movie in the moment was
the last bit there.
The last bit is that I think it might be 15 minutes too long because I don't really think the returning to the old husband is really necessary or adds much other than like the punchline of now his head is on goat.
I love that.
Which is great. Love to see that. But like overall, that's like the only part of the movie. I'm picking nits in the movie that I think is otherwise.
Every male entity in this movie is a stage in her development. And I've also seen a lot of people post about the Rami character and how like, oh, he falls in love with a child and he's terrible and I hate him and therefore the movie is bad.
I just need us to like all be adults here.
Well, it's also
it's a movie.
It's also a fantasy in like this steampunk world, and like steampunk takes a lot of aesthetics from probably I would say the 19th century, probably the 1800s. Listen, y'all would hate to hear the average age that like a 20-something guy would marry back then.
Also,
they
like,
were marrying
another
kids.
thing about this movie, and I'll speak for both of you here. The way that sex scenes are depicted in this movie is not in a sexual way. I was not watching this movie and being like, I'm aroused right now by the sex scenes. They're almost entirely for humor.
Well, also,
like that is kind of the point of the movie. It's not like they're like, God damn, look at how fucking hot these scenes are. Like it's comical. And honestly, the sex looks bad. It looks like bad sex is happening in real time while you're seeing it on the screen.
I'll take another look at it.
Okay, all right. Let us know.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It looks like it looks like whenever like fucking 16-year-olds are boinking and there's like, what if we hit as hard as possible? Like there's no like rhyme or reason to anything. It doesn't look good while it's happening. Right. And I think that the flash, how like flushed out everything looks and how like pale the entire aesthetic of this movie kind of adds to it, that like this is not a sexy movie at all, even for as much nudity and sexuality is imbued into it, because sex is just a plot point.
I think there are moments where it's sexy. I think a lot of the brothel stuff gets pretty sexy. I think that part of what she's doing in the brothel is taking something that is transactional and turning it into something that has more meaning. Because what she's doing there is she's saying like, okay, well, I could just fuck this disgusting person in front of me. Like the first brothel encounter is absolutely grotesque. And then after a while, she's like, okay, let me actually find some connection here.
Well, in that way, the most sexual moments are not the sex.
It's the human.
It's the human thing,
yeah.
Or it's the connection with what's her name? The other woman who she meets.
Yeah,
like those are
absolutely
the sexual connections that you see. That is where the true chemistry arises. It's not in the actual act of sex. This is why, like this movie, I know for a fact when like once every 18 months, when the Twitter discourse comes up about like we should never have nudity in movies because it made my boyfriend uncomfortable while we were watching a movie together. It's like you got other shit in your relationship. You guys got to work out together, and you were airing it out on the internet. But
I will say about Rami's character is like, the complaints about that character and how quickly he falls for Bella at the beginning is, I don't think we're meant to like Rami. Like
he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah,
Every guy in this movie is kind of a simpleton.
Exactly.
Yeah, like he has a great like scientific brain, but he's just like a fucking loser.
Yeah.
That guy wasn't getting any before this movie.
We're not meant to applaud his actions. It just goes back to like people being fucking dumb and thinking that like, ooh, I see actions depicted in movie that are bad. Therefore, movie bad.
I'm thinking
Grow
about
up.
doing it. I saw it.
I saw it was on the big screen.
I don't want to, but I might do it.
Wait, he dropped the bomb? That's bad.
I saw Passion of the
Movie
Christ and I was
bad.
like, maybe I should fucking kill myself.
He made Atom Bomb. You're not supposed to make Atom Bomb. Movie bad. Movie bad because he made
Down
Atom
vote.
Bomb.
Down
Atom Bomb
vote.
bad. Anyway, that's our list. 5 hours.
We'll see you later.
Jesus Christ.
We can't do honorable mentions. We'll save that for the WBAMs. We'll do an honorable mentions category at the WBAMs because we have to stop. It is past midnight.
Apologies to wife of the pod Gaia that I was just like, no, don't worry. This one's only 3 of us. This will be the shortest one. This will be the short one as we've been recording for like 5 hours.
Literally 5 hours.
Good thing we're doing.
We're fucked.
Good thing that we're doing TV.
It's all fucked. Thank you all for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know your thoughts on our top 10 favorite movies of 2023. Next week, it's best TV shows of 2023 with a special guest that we won't spoil right now because I don't want to jinx it, but it will be worth it. It will be fun. And then the webammies after that. Visit weboughtamic.net. Get every episode in your inbox. Join the Discord. Donate. Patreon.com/weboughtamic. Thank you, donors. Thank you, Run P, for sponsoring this episode. Let us know all the places where you should Run P and
Listen,
all the movies we talked about.
If you held it for 5 hours, then applauded, Steve. I can't even hold it 5 hours through my sleep.
I got some pee
should probably see a
down my
doctor.
leg right now.
I'm pissing myself actively.
Yep.
It's a Run P.
I can't stop peeing myself.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye-bye.